I think my staff's getting tired of me quoting Marshawn Lynch, but like he still said it best. Like he's about that action, right?
Like on purpose, no matter where the location of the pitch is, you crazy fool. Like I'm telling you right now, there is not one hitter on the planet.
Fellas. I don't know about that, but you know what? I'll save it for 12 months from now. We'll talk about it in 12 months. Yeah.
Don't leave that dugout. We got Bo and Joe coming up next on the Farm System, right here, right now.
Fellas. I feel like I haven't said that in a long time.
It's been a minute, hasn't it?
Oh my goodness. Fellas. And
The ladies.
It's
been so long, Garth, I forgot.
No, I swear to you, I
forgot.
can't remember the last time we started a podcast with the fellas.
It's been a minute.
Goodness, we're just abandoning our roots.
People, that's probably why people are like, I'm not gonna listen until you start with fellas.
Yeah, you get the fellas in there. Then we're doing it. Welcome back to another episode of the Farm Unfiltered. You're back with your boys.
Here we are. Get your lunchbox, baby. This one's a little lengthier.
Yeah, it's a little lengthy, but we talking baseball. Do you like baseball or do you not like baseball? I don't understand. We talk about a whole bunch of things, right? We go through MVP race. That's a big one. Yeah. Obviously, we talk about old back in the day MVP. Back in the day, we got some Bonds talking there, some Miggy talking there, some Babe Ruth talking there. Yeah. We also talk through as well anxiety of playing, different positions, infield, angles, backing outfield, up,
fly balls, catchers.
Good golly, infield pop-ups. What else did we talk on?
Cody made a couple appearances.
Yeah. We talked about the A to B paradigm.
Yeah, there he is.
Brought that one in.
Yep. A to B. Right. We talked about self-love,
business,
confidence,
awareness.
Man,
we didn't talk about the Air Farm ones, but the episode's brought to you by the Air Farm ones, baby.
Yeah.
You already know. Look at they look pretty clean in that image up there.
100%.
And then obviously the farm phone wasn't part of the episode, but it's always ready.
It's always ready for you guys to call in. Well,
yep.
Someone calls in while we're actually on. I think we have to put them on.
We'll have to.
I think that's just part of it. Like if you just call at the right time, you're on the show.
Put it on.
You're on the show.
Call in.
All right. Well, fellas, ladies. Vladdy Jr. gets the MVP as a triple crown, or Shohei. So he could win. Vladdy can win the triple crown and not be the MVP.
Oof.
That's a rough one, bro.
But does he have like a 2.5 ERA?
Look it up.
Yeah,
look up the stats. Look up the stats.
We can do that though and pull the stats up. Though.
So here's the thing, though. Vladdy could win the triple crown. Obviously, it doesn't happen. Last one to do it was Miggy.
Yeah.
Right. He could win the triple crown, but not be MVP. I don't even know if that's ever happened before.
Yeah.
And then
that's tough.
And then you got Shohei, who's just an animal. He's set the record for like homers for like an Angel. I think in the last I don't know.
It might be like borderline. I mean,
he's borderline.
Not ever, but that's probably pretty close.
He's probably borderline.
I'd imagine
pretty close. I know for sure he's done it for I think the only other Asian American or only other I'm trying to think is I think it was who else was on the team? I think they listed it before.
Hideki, was it?
I thought about that.
But I remember Hideki when he came over, he broke almost all those records. I thought.
Yeah,
besides Ichiro,
it might have been. I think and that actually might be it. It's not necessarily for the Angels, but just overall.
Yeah.
And then obviously what he's doing from the pitching side.
Well, how many home runs does he have right now, Vladdy?
Vladdy, 45.
I mean, I feel like if Vladdy beats him in all those offensive categories, then
yeah, but he's also pitching, bro.
DHing though.
Yeah, but he's a beast, though.
I think the voters they don't like the DHs.
Bombs.
Yeah, but the who votes for the MVP? Isn't the players?
No,
I think it's the writers.
Still the writers?
Yeah,
they got a lot of power for no reason.
Whatever is the best storyline, huh?
Like what?
A bunch of guys that have been in the game for too long, they just give them a role.
Like how? Don't you think that at least I'm not talking Hall of Fame because that players come and go and yada yada yada, but like MVP, don't you feel like that should be like managers and players?
I've always thought MVP
like
should be the players because they know the best. They know who the best player is and who's the most
everybody's
valuable.
Like, dude, I don't want to face that guy.
No.
Like, he's unbelievable. When the players are like that, that guy is unbelievable.
Yeah. And my favorite, too, is you'll hear guys say he's not the best player on the team, but he's the MVP. I've heard that before.
That's stupid.
Be like Trout. I mean, Trout just
He's
happens
not.
to be.
No, Shohei is definitely better than Trout this year. Just is.
Well, Trout hasn't
I'm not
really
saying
played much.
overall,
Yeah.
not forever, but this year Shohei's obviously better.
Well, and
Trout's hurt.
How do you compare? Like, are we talking tools?
Well, I can compare right now. Numbers. He's hit more home runs than Trout has ever hit in a season.
I'm agreeing with you. I'm saying why?
That's what I'm saying.
Why can't we talk about him being better than Trout
Has he?
No, he hit more
in a
home
single season?
Yeah, he hit more home runs in a single season than Trout has ever hit in a single season.
I don't know if it. I think he's on pace.
No, I think
He has.
I think he's already surpassed him.
I thought Trout hit 50 once.
I
He
don't
might
know.
not have.
Pull it.
But I heard that. I remember it was definitely the first year. I know he shattered that record. Because this is his first full season with the Angels, isn't it?
Well, they've all
last
been
year,
hurt.
Last year he was.
Well, 2019 Trout hit 45. And
45, and
I
he's
think
got.
Otani's at 44 right
Yeah,
now.
he'll break that.
Yeah, so he's gonna break
He'll
that.
So that's my argument is like the limited sample size, but why can't that be the conversation?
Well, no, I
Is he
think
better than Trout?
Well, I think this is the thing. This year, obviously Trout's hurt,
Yeah.
but this year he's the best player on the Angels. There isn't an argument there. I don't feel like
yeah.
there is.
I feel like he's
I
the
mean,
best player in baseball.
Yeah, for sure. But again, that's what I'm trying to say is like when people are like, "Well, he's not even the best player on the team," because I agree. If you're not the best player on your team for that season, right? I'm not saying that you're better than Trout for 20 years,
Yeah.
but if you're not the best player on that team that specific year, you definitely can't be the MVP.
Yeah.
MVP is the best of the league.
Well,
You're not the best player on your team, you definitely can't be the best player in the league.
yeah. Are you talking about best player or most valuable, though? So I feel like those are two different things.
You can bring value with something other than,
Because
statistics. I
Trout's-
mean, Trout's still valuable to the Angels.
Trout's
even though he
probably
hasn't
better
played.
offensively, consistently over time. I think that'll show. But Shohei brings more than just that.
I mean, he's on both sides of the ball. I mean,
No, I'm agreeing with you.
I mean,
I agree with you.
that's the other thing. Trout could hit the exact same numbers that he hits, plus a little bit better. He's also on the mound throwing with the 3 ERA.
He's doing what
Yeah,
kids
what's-
do it when they're 11.
Yeah.
He's got
show.
a
In the show.
3.36 ERA, 136 Ks,
Yeah,
and 115 innings pitched.
that's ridiculous.
and
Started 21 games.
The thing that sucks, and Trout still won the MVP because it just wasn't close.
Mm-hmm.
The Angels are not very good, so it's like I think the league also would like it to be somebody with a team that's competitive. That's
Yeah,
gonna
but look
play
how
in
many
the
years.
World
Look
Series.
how many years that Miggy won the MVP,
They're
and
just
they
the best.
sucked.
And same with Shohei. It's like he's the best in the league.
Yeah, no, he's.
I don't really know how
You
you
can't.
can argue
You can't
against it.
penalize. You can't penalize. It's like how many years did Bonds win the MVP and the team sucked?
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Giants sucked for a really long time. Like he has very limited playoff at bats because they suck so bad.
I mean, they were good for a few years.
Yeah, when he wasn't there.
can't-
No.
I can't
They
remember
went
the
to,
years.
They went to that 1 year.
They played the
Uh,
Angels in the World Series.
Yeah,
I remember that one.
Yeah, no, they definitely were good. What year was that? It was like 80.
They
Oh
were-
no, that was early 90s, huh?
I think the home run he hit in the World Series
Yeah.
was the farthest ball I've ever seen hit. Pull it up. Look at that home
Who
run.
was it?
Yeah,
What are
we-
you talking about?
Barry Bonds off of who
Just
was-
put
who
Barry
was the
Bonds.
closer?
He only did it once.
Barry Bonds home run Angels World Series.
Yeah, it's the only time he was there.
I'm not trying to be dramatic.
Yeah. No, but you also got to be careful at that stadium because that little right field is so short that it makes it look like it was hit the outer space.
My favorite's Troy Gloss, the opposite team. You can read his mouth.
Let's see what we got here.
It's the best.
Put number 4 on the big screen too.
Troy Percival,
when you
that's
get a
who it
chance.
is. Oh, look at that position there.
Yeah, go ahead and restart that bad boy. Okay. Well, look at the camera angle too. You can't even see the ball. I love when they did that. We don't even know where it landed, Garth.
This is my favorite.
Hold on. Look at
Landed
the
in San
score.
Diego.
Look at
10
his
to
mouth.
11.
Look at his mouth right there. Go back.
Garth, 10 to 11.
Cody, I know you're good at lip reading.
That's the furthest ball I've ever seen hit. That's what he said.
I didn't realize it was that close of a game, honestly.
I can't believe that you're in the World Series and you have over 10 runs from both teams. That's ridiculous. We playing football?
Well, that's their favorite. They're like, look,
I got it.
let's see how far he can hit it, because they'll still be down by 1.
Even the camera's like, well,
And I think
I have no idea where it even landed.
the crowd isn't even.
Watch-
the
watch-
fans are looking behind
The
him.
crowd, I think it might have cleared the stadium or something.
Stop it.
Oh my god.
my God. First ball I've ever seen hit.
He's not even mad.
That's awesome.
Go back and
That's
try
a
to
bad man.
Go back
He
go back
really
and
is.
just look at okay.
Just
go
try
back
to
and
find the
Yeah,
crowd.
I want to see where the crowd's moving. Like I want to see how far up it really is. Do you see anybody
I don't
move?
see a single
I don't
fan
see
moving.
anything.
I don't see anybody moving. That's not good.
No, it's way up there.
That means it's really far.
Imagine if he hit the freaking scoreboard up
Man, I just want to also notate how bad cameras were back in the day. Like those are awful. I could go out there with my cell phone right now
tracking.
and get a better image. I promise you. Look at the light.
there. Well, and the tracking, it's like, Garth.
Actually, no. It looks like people are moving halfway up the stands, bro. Look at right by that hole.
Yeah, right
See how
here.
people are moving?
Right below.
Yeah. Still, I mean, that's a bomb. But
Oh, yeah, you can see it right in front of the little walkway. Almost.
yeah, like the walkway, there's some movement over there. I mean, don't get me wrong, that's a tank.
California in November, that's a freaking tank.
That's a tank.
That's humid, 60 degrees.
Yeah. I mean, it could be in colder places, but
to go back to what we're saying, Bonds, you're putting up video game numbers on both
Yeah.
sides of the ball for Shohei.
yeah, that's the thing is I'm trying to say, like, you would have to put out such ridiculous numbers to beat what he's also doing on the pitching side that, like, that's do they ever put Shohei to like play a position? I haven't noticed.
They have a little bit. He'll play some outfield, but
Some outfield or
pri-
something.
pretty. And that's
Once in a while.
And that's
That's
the thing
that they got to
too,
be
like,
careful. They don't want to get hurt.
I think the DH, because a lot of DHs, pure DHs, won't win the MVP, but he plays a position. He pitches.
Yeah, but you got to look. Didn't like David Ortiz win it when he was a
did.
DH?
Uh,
I want to say he won it one
you
year.
might have to just look that up. MVP winners.
Yeah, look at the MVP winners, and we'll see if any of them were DH. And I want to say that David Ortiz. I know he definitely won it during the postseason, like a
Yeah.
postseason MVP for sure.
Yeah, he broke our hearts, Garth.
Yeah, well,
2004, biggest collapse in playoff history. Yankees.
well, what can you do? You know what I'm saying?
The guy put his team, the whole city, on his back. that
Yeah.
year.
But I think that's the other part though is like, again, like what numbers would you have to put up? The other way to think about it though is you could play insane defense, but you still can't affect the game like that defensively,
No,
like Shohei's doing on the mound.
No,
he's got the ball in his hand every pitch.
he's playing the defensive position that controls the game.
Yeah, I
most.
mean, that's
Like
just,
Trout, I mean, he's probably
Can
the
you imagine?
best defensive
Well-
center fielder, but
well-
how many balls get hit to him?
And Shohei doesn't have good enough numbers to win a Cy Young, does he? I'm trying to think of who
No.
else is in the league. I mean, obviously you have.
That's what I was looking.
I don't know
Like-
what DeGrom's doing. Is he
like
hurt?
last year. I guess last year was the COVID year. The year before, Verlander won it with a 2.58 ERA and 300 Ks, and then DeGrom won it with a 2.43 with 255 Ks.
And what is his
No,
number?
Tony's pitching.
Yeah,
He's 3.36, so he's almost a full.
yeah, he's a good.
And then
good pitcher.
136 Ks. So
Yeah, so he's
another
he's
50 to
pitching.
70
He's a
below.
really good
How many-
pitcher, but he's
Not
not a
quite
Cy
Cy
Young.
Young, yeah.
How many innings has he thrown?
115.
How many-
He just
that's-
hasn't
that
thrown
seems
enough.
a little. Yeah, we'll say that seems low.
Because I think a lot of times they throw him for
Well, because they
5-6 innings.
don't they do a 6-man rotation or 7-man rotation with him or something like that?
I'm not sure. I haven't paid enough
I'm
attention
almost,
to
I'm
him.
almost, I'm almost positive that that's what, because that's also what people were arguing the issue with him with other pitchers on his team. Because I remember back in the day when they first got him, they were doing this 6-man. I'm pretty sure it was a 6-man rotation, and they were sending guys up and down from AAA so that they could have another guy.
Roster
But then
spot.
he was also messing up everybody else's routine because they're all used to 5-day turnarounds.
Yeah.
And so now they're all getting pushed back another day. So then the argument kind of was like, all right, well, now you have one player that affects the rest of all of your other players, you
Yeah.
know, and all of their things. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So it's like a bigger thing.
Yeah, the year DeGrom won it, he had a 204 innings logged, and Otani's
Okay.
at 136.
Yeah,
I mean,
he just hasn't thrown enough. But I mean,
or
he's
115. Sorry,
he's still impacting. What's his record? Can't see it over there.
9-2.
I mean,
Pretty good.
when he's throwing the ball, they're winning.
Yeah, because he's also hitting a nuke to lead off the game.
So that's crazy. That's another conversation. So we looked it up. So Poppy never won a normal, like, regular season MVP. But think about that. Don't you think of Poppy as a Hall of Famer?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he'll be a Hall of Famer.
But isn't that crazy that you've never won an MVP?
I mean, there's probably a lot of guys though.
No, I'm sure there is.
but
That's true.
still, for that,
That's kind of crazy though, because you think of him as a hitter. I guess I don't know, because I guess it's not. That's probably why he hasn't really won it. But
plus too, there's so many good players on the Red Sox.
yeah,
You had Manny Ramirez.
yeah.
You had,
He might as well have been DHing. So
Well, the year that it said Big Poppy was a runner-up,
mm.
he hit 300. He had 47 bombs, 40 doubles, 148 RBIs.
Jesus, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
But still, yeah, the average is too low. I'm sure compared to A-Rod that year. I'm sure A-Rod probably hit
That's the year
320 or
that's the
something.
year he hit 56 home runs,
Yeah, I'm sure he probably went off.
or something 62 or something like that. I mean, that was right in the height of his whole thing.
So what do we got? We got American League.
Yeah, I know. So that's the only thing though, is even Vladdy's numbers though. The only thing I'm thinking about it with that is like his average is still not crazy.
Yeah.
I mean, don't get me wrong. Like,
331.
oh, I think he said 315. Didn't he say 315 a second ago?
I don't know.
I swear he didn't say 331. I would have, as soon as you said his average, I was like, that's kind of low. He said three. I thought he
Oh
said.
no, 318.
Okay.
318.
I mean, again, it's obviously still pretty good. 320 is
Yeah, I think
different mark, but it's
it's
crazy
also-
because it's 2 points. But
it's hard to tell too because the pitching stats are so good now.
mm-hmm.
Like you look at offensive numbers, early 2000s. We were just talking about it before we started recording, but to now, like the league average is like 240.
Well, yeah, but look at the top batting average guys. I've seen some dudes with some pretty high batting averages still.
Have you?
Yeah. So that's what I'm trying to say.
It's
Is like,
just top. It's probably just so bottom heavy.
yeah.
This is
No,
like
100% it is. There's some guys batting freaking
Yeah.
underneath, 50.
because this is like the lowest. This is the lowest batting average. I mean, I haven't seen it now. When I did look at it at the time, this was like the lowest batting average.
Yeah, this year, Starling Marte 322, the best
Yeah.
batting average.
Mm.
Vlad Jr. second with 318. Yuli Gurriel, Trey Turner.
He is
Mike
doing
Conley.
it.
So
He
some
is
of
doing it then.
Yeah, so some of the guys I must have saw go to National League. Is that everybody?
All MLB.
Yeah. So
Crazy. I know. At one
Well,
point they were.
Yeah, look at him. He's
Well,
second in batting.
some of the
average.
guys that I must have saw too probably don't have enough at bats to qualify.
How many?
I was
Oh,
watching
yeah.
the game the other day.
What other? I can't see that far. Where is he at with like RBIs and runs?
Yeah, so RBIs he's at 103, which ties him for third behind
Hey,
Salvi Perez.
hit Control Plus and zoom in a little bit there.
My eyes just aren't that good either from this far.
The command on here.
Yeah, or Command Plus or something like that. It'll zoom in on your screen. There you go. There we are.
Okay,
Yeah, so I mean he's leading it in hits,
tied for third and
tied for
runs.
third in RBIs, leading in home runs, second in average.
Yeah.
Marte's gonna ruin his life.
Starling Marte. Boy, still getting
I
it done.
might not be able to take everything from you, but I'm gonna take this one from you, bud.
Where does what was Shohei's numbers again? Offensive.
Offensively, .44 bombs, 94 RBIs, hitting .259.
I think it'll just depend on what the voters value, which I think the pitching.
Yeah, what do we see? The Baseball Writers Association votes.
Yeah.
Still.
If-
Wonder City.
If he gets his batting average up to like 275,
Yeah.
which I don't know if it's possible at this point.
Yeah.
But if he gets his batting average up to 275, I think it's night.
Well, I think
For sure.
once again, I think the writers are going to look at it like, if you removed those two from their teams, how would they do? The Angels would be doo-doo.
Well,
But
but I think that's the only thing is
but the
like
Blue Jays still
most
have
valuable
good players on their team.
Yeah, but if you take that mindset, then you just go to the worst team in the league and say who's the most valuable on that team and say that should be the best.
That's what they've done.
What
Trout the last 7 years as
well, no, but Trout's just the most valuable player on any team.
But I think
But
that's
I'm
what
saying-
they would say. Shohei probably would
Well,
be too.
I agree, but I'm saying that the difference between what you just said and what you just said previously is if I'm just the most valuable on my team and my team sucks, then I should be the most valuable across the league.
Mm-hmm.
When in reality, that guy might be trash compared to a lot of other guys
Every
on other teams. My team just might suck. I might just be the Orioles or something.
Yeah, but the Warriors still have to play everybody.
Yeah, no, but I'm saying, for example, again, like just because I go play at what was that one college we used to play that was awful?
Manhattan. Manhattan Christian or Central Christian?
Probably Central Christian or something like that.
Yeah, we love them.
Let's say I went over the Central Christian. Let's say I went over the Central Christian and I batted 320 with 17 jacks.
Mm-hmm.
Am I an MVP of the league?
No, but I mean there is a certain. These are I think the better comparison would be look at the top 32 NAIA teams, and then if you're on the worst of those 32, they're still the best 32.
But still,
that's like the MLB. There's only 30 teams.
Yeah, I just still think that again, it's more than you just being obviously the most valuable on your team, because and that's another thing as well. Being like, let's say you have Big Papi and Manny Ramirez, like, and you got everybody else on that team that was loaded at the time. Like we had Dustin Pedroia on the team, and all those, that team was Pedro. I mean, that team, those teams are stacked, right? Yeah. So like, I'm super valuable, but also too like. There's a step down, but those guys are also the most valuable guys. Or again, when A-Rod's running or any of those guys, like those teams are stacked.
Yeah, I think it's tough. Like that list right there, the MVPs. I know they're obviously good teams, but I feel like a lot of them aren't always the best teams, though.
No,
like they're like a little bit weaker teams that would struggle without having that player.
They won the World Series.
Yeah, I mean,
Miami wasn't
really,
great.
Miami sucked.
I mean, they were pretty good. But
well, yeah, they went to playoffs. They went to the playoffs.
Dodgers were
they went to the
good.
playoff.
Lions
won the
were
World
good.
Series. Atlanta went to the playoffs.
Yeah, I mean, they were good. Nationals were pretty good.
Yeah, they went to the World.
So they're all okay.
Playoffs.
They're all pretty good.
Pittsburgh, I'm pretty sure back when McCutcheon was.
Yeah, I think that's the year
good.
that they were good.
Is the MVP?
Posey was the year that they were good.
Yeah.
Braun was the year that they were good.
Yeah.
2009, was like peak Albert Pujols too. So
they were crushing.
Yeah, that's when they were lit.
Oh, Barry Bonds.
Yeah,
Barry
that's what I'm saying. That's the best argument I think. Is like I said, Barry Bonds was the MVP when they sucked.
I mean, they weren't bad though. They still played in the World Series and made the playoffs a couple times.
A couple times, but I'm saying like he's won. I mean, that's a lot of Barry. That's bro to win the MVP
4 in a row.
Yo, that's a savage right there. To win 4 in a row is stupid.
That's why people. I mean, I know he's got the asterisks, man, but you need to appreciate. He won it twice before the steroid stuff.
The crazy part is though. Hold on, scroll back up. Keep going all the way back up.
That's national.
Okay, thank you. Yeah, flip it back over to American. I'm like, hold on a second.
I was confused.
I was like, where's Miggy at?
I said, where's Trout?
And I was thinking Trout and Miggy. I'm like, where are they at?
Well, Trout.
So,
Trout.
yeah.
There's Miggy.
So Miggy's definitely won it when they weren't as good.
I mean, they were still okay though.
Those years.
Then they weren't bad.
I don't think
they played in the World Series one of those years. I'm pretty sure.
Look it up. I really want to say, I mean, for a long time they haven't made playoffs too. There's plenty of times they haven't played. I mean, that's back when they probably had Verlander on the team though.
They had Verlander, Upton, Kinsler. They were good for a couple of years.
The Giants beat the Tigers in the 2012 World Series, which is one of the years that
I remember that one.
Miggy played.
And I think the next year they made the playoffs, but they didn't.
Yeah, so I think the best argument for that is probably Bonds.
Look up the Giants. Look up the early 2000. I'm going to look this up.
The beeping means work's getting done. We're getting our cage put up right now.
Joey's
so
backing it up.
Yeah.
What do you want, Giants early 2000s just roster?
I just want to see how bad they were. Because
Just look up the Giants
playoff.
yeah. Just to get their stats for year to year. They should all be on there. That should be good.
That's all their players.
Okay, so
Maybe
we're trying to look at seasons.
maybe Giants, San Francisco Giants
Yeah.
postseason.
Uh,
I don't even
or
know.
like year to year record or season records. Yeah, there you go. Should be on there. Okay, here we go. So zoom in on that. This is going to go back pretty far. Oh, get out of here, Vimeo. There's an X there at the top. Get out of here, Google ad.
They get you.
Oh, they're trying to mess with us, aren't they?
They're playing around.
Look up from like 98 to like 2004.
What do you got? 98 right here. So games, wins, losses. 89 and 74.
Okay. So they made it to the playoffs, what, 3 of those years? 4 of those years?
2000. Lost in the NLDS. They don't have anything. And
Yeah.
then Lost in the World Series in 2002. NLDS again in 2003.
Yeah.
So they were second of 5. So they were always like top in the West. Missed the playoffs twice in those years.
Mm-hmm.
I just know that's when Bochy, that's like when they, and then obviously they won the World Series a couple times later on.
Oh, yeah.
So they weren't bad,
When
but
they were
they
taking a
weren't
year
the
off.
best. They played in the World Series the one year.
Yeah, because same thing, even those two, right? Like NLDS, so they go first round of playoffs and then bounce. So
Yeah,
because that was back when
3-1.
they had Dusty Baker as the running the show.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Bochy didn't come around till what? What year was that? 2008 or something like that.
7.
Seven. I mean, yeah. I mean, look at the records. I mean, they won 90 games, almost 90 games each over those years. So
They were pretty good.
they weren't bad.
89.
That's why what
Yeah.
Trout was doing, I remember people were saying that they're like, he's just not, the team's just boo-boo. Like,
Yeah.
it's the first
Well,
time an
the-
MVP's really played for a bad team.
Well, and
Not the first, but you get what I'm saying.
But yeah, and that's also the thing is too. Like yeah, like they just have had really bad pitching,
Yeah.
and not like they don't have pitching, like everybody's hurt,
Yeah.
and combined with they also don't have pitching
Yeah. for
because
sure.
I mean that's the other thing as well, right? Once you get hurt and you're like, okay, we're out. You're not going to pay all. You got to manage where you're spending your money too as well. You do have some of the top players like
Yeah.
you're paying Trout $400 million.
Yeah. Look up, it'd be interesting to see can you look up the player stats again compared to like their teammates? I should know this, but
For who? What specifically?
the
you're looking
Angels
for?
and the Blue Jays.
Oh, so you're just looking for team stats.
Yeah. I think it'd be interesting to see if,
But
Angels.
Angels team stats.
because I think the Blue Jays, correct me if I'm wrong, I think they got a couple guys that are playing pretty well.
Yeah, they got
I mean, Simeon, is Simeon on that team?
Yeah, I believe so.
He has like 40 home runs or something this year. It's crazy.
make it the big screen.
Yeah, so we got the Angels.
Yeah,
Tommy,
so
259. Jose Iglesias is
Yeah.
tied. Fletcher's low
Really-
over. Jared Walsh. is
really
low over.
Walsh is the only one messing with them.
We had a
Yeah.
couple guys fairly
Good
close.
for Walsh though. I remember when I had
Doing
I
his
had him
thing.
back in
Salt Lake.
AAA. Yeah, good for him.
Yeah, he's not starting on the bump.
So he's like middle of the pack for his team. High end, but there's still a couple guys that are doing okay.
Yeah. And then look up
Look at the Blue Jays.
Look at the Blue Jays. Blue Jays definitely got some dudes on their team. They got what's his name at short.
Yeah, he's having a career season.
Yeah, he's playing well.
And then they
Bichette.
Well, I wonder is he playing short?
Think so.
I believe so.
Simeon's playing second. Or is Simeon not on that team anymore?
No, he is. Where are we at here? No. Scroll back down.
Oh, I forgot
Simeon's
they had
playing second.
I forgot they had Springer too as well.
Mm-hmm.
Teams that they got kind of a squad.
Yeah, they're nasty. That's why he might win.
Yeah,
it
look,
'cause he just
45 home runs. Simeon's got 39 home runs. Bo Bichette's got 24 home runs.
can't leave Simeon.
Look at
He's-
that. And they
he's
got
going off, man.
They got a couple dudes over 20 jacks. Freaking Hernandez got 27. Good golly. Springer only got 17. When Springer's only got 17 home runs compared, and that's like bad for the team, like that should tell you something.
I think he's been hurt though.
How many of these?
60 plate
Yeah.
appearances. Yeah.
He's only
Yeah.
played in half the games.
half of
Yeah,
them.
okay, well, do your
60
thing.
games. played.
Still though, 17 jacks in 60 games.
Yeah,
That's-
my boy not doing bad over there.
yeah, not bad.
Yeah, no, they got a little squad.
What are the batting averages like? 369. Is that what that says? Simeon's
No,
batting average?
269.
Oh.
269, Garth.
gonna say,
Pull it together,
Jesus.
Garth Brooks.
269 with 39 bombs, though. Second baseman.
That's solid.
Pretty decent.
He's
Yeah.
in a good
Isn't
sign.
it crazy how much different you look at batting averages when it says 2.6 compared to 2.7?
100%.
10 points, but it's a big
It just
difference.
makes you feel
When a guy's
different.
batting 260 compared to when a guy's batting 270, it's a
It
different
is.
ball player.
It's a different mental
Yeah.
thing too when you're hitting
Yeah,
as
you're
a
like,
hitter.
for sure when you're like, oh, I'm batting 270
Bat 270.
or I'm batting 260. Batting 260 just makes your heart hurt.
It does. What is Bichet?
Bichette?
292?
292.
Yeah, you could
Stole
hit.
22 bags, 24 bombs, 25
I
doubles.
think
Yeah, he's a good player.
the thing with the MVP though, I think it'll just come back to what do they value the most defensively? The first baseman or a pitcher?
Yeah. It's just,
Because is it the best hitter?
well, let's
I
just put it
feel
this.
like
Let's just also put it this way. He's not the best defender.
No.
Vlad's not. He's just
No.
not.
Well, I don't know though.
Well, I
can,
mean-
can you win a Gold Glove at first?
I mean, do you think Jose Abreu
No.
is the best first baseman
Did-
defensively?
Did he win a Gold Glove though?
No, he won the MVP last year.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to say. And again, I think a Gold Glove defensively is probably. I still wouldn't equate it to a Cy Young though.
No,
So it's like
definitely not.
yeah. I mean, a Gold Glove ain't easy though.
No, it's not. Especially, I mean, first base at that level, I think it'd be pretty tough. Just because the ball's skipping. I mean, it's
Yeah.
people undervalue how tough it is to play
But-
first base.
No, I
Yeah,
agree,
but
but
honestly,
also
like
at
it's
that
not-
level.
No, it's not.
all-
I'm just saying in general.
Also at that level, you got great dirt. You got great defenders.
Yeah.
You got, you know what I'm saying? And they're throwing pretty money to you majority of the time.
Yeah.
I definitely think maybe playing in the NAI might be a little tougher at first base.
100%. I hated playing first base.
I mean,
I don't think so.
and also you got a whole bunch of lefties that are just spinning and yanking,
100%.
and the dart's awful half the time.
100%.
You know,
What's
it's a little
the
rough.
so who won the last year's Abreu won last year?
Yeah, Abreu and Freeman, couple first basemen.
Okay. Well, I guess they're paving the way.
Paving the way. Oh, Belly, I feel bad for him. That's another topic.
Yeah, man, that's
Man,
I feel bad for him. It's tough.
what do you do though? You're kind of standing on an island when you're relying
I
on a
heard-
little bit of athleticism and
Well, I heard they were trying to make some swing changes with him, and that's why he might be having some struggles.
yeah. What have you seen swing change wise?
I wouldn't say I've only seen some limited clips. I haven't really broke them down deep, but what I've seen is, which is interesting for him, and I wonder what they're working on if they are making some other changes. But what I've seen is he's getting to a lot. He's not getting to good spots.
Mm-hmm.
So like, he looks like he's got less slack pulled out.
Yeah.
Which is making him yank with his back a little bit more. Is making him look where everybody sees like him spinning.
Yeah.
When he's landing, he's got a bunch of slack. So, he looks like way less stretched.
Yeah, he's trying to create tension as he's swinging.
Yeah, like as he's swinging, like, and then again, like, that's when you get a lot of the back yank and like,
Yanking.
yeah, and again, when I've seen very limited clips, but when I was seeing him like look like he was struggling, in some of those clips, and I was looking into it, he looked like he was getting a lot less stretch.
Yep.
There was still a bunch of slack in his system when he was going to swing, and it looked like it was more of a back yank than a leg spin.
Yep.
But
No, I saw the same thing. He's struggling for space bad.
Yeah.
Balls are running in on him, and from what you're saying. It's a
Yeah.
result of that. Struggling with space in, and then they platooned him at first against lefties because they'd break the ball away from him when he's yanking and spinning. And then they started just sitting him because he couldn't hit righties either. And I think at that time it was just mental. He just was swimming bad. Because he's a good athlete, but like you're saying, tough to rely on purely athleticism at that level.
Yeah. And I think that's the thing, too, is like, then when you start making changes, this is why a lot of people are also scared to make changes, is because you could change something that's good. And someone would say, well, if it's not broke, don't fix it. But also, then you look at guys like Mookie Betts, who was an all-star, but he continued to get better and make changes just like 99% of big leaguers do every single season. They continue to get better just like pitchers do.
Right.
So it's not like they're just like, oh, I'm just going to maintenance what I already do, right? Like they're not maintaining what they already do. They're trying to get better.
Yeah.
Because the league's going to adjust to you too. You can't just think that the league's going to be a constant or they're going to pitch to you the same and they're going to be a constant.
Yeah.
So the league's also getting better. So I have no idea of what the context is of why, if that's even the reason, or did he start struggling and then now they're trying to fix it, right? There could be a lot of things going into it, but just from whatever they're doing, no matter what happened, what I was seeing was that he was landing in some bad positions, and he was landing like almost like more square.
He was,
which some people would think that that's like good, but he's got a bunch of slack in his because he's kind of loose. He's pretty mobile.
Well, and he lands slightly open, so when he's square now, your orientation's like third base. You're square, but you're open to the field, so you already lost direction.
Yeah.
And A-Rod made the comment, which made me think he's just mentally struggling.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because A-Rod he kept on talking about his confidence like 4 or 5 different times throughout the game. And so I think he may be just in a bad spot too.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it would be. He just won the MVP, 2 years ago. And now you can't even crack the starting lineup.
Yeah.
Be tough.
It's almost like when Chris Davis was really good, and then like 2 years later he couldn't hit water if he fell out of a boat.
The Orioles one?
Yeah.
Orioles.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Where he was like, I think he led the league in home runs.
Yeah.
And then like 2 years later he was like,
yeah, he couldn't even hit.
he was trash.
That's a sad story. I've told you that one with the Adderall prescription they took away, and then he literally like couldn't even show up to the field on time.
Well, remember when he was too? It was tobacco for a minute too.
Yeah.
It just kept being like one thing to the next.
Yeah, I remember because the league, you guys don't know to take like Adderall or any type of stimulant or any type of prescription drug. The league needs to approve it. And there was like I think it was 2000. It was when Miguel Tejada also got banged for it that year. The league like renewed basically what it takes to get granted to use the stimulants, and there was a handful of big leaguers that got banged for it, and that was the first year Chris Davis didn't have it, and then from there, if you look at the numbers, man, it just like plateaued for him. Couldn't even hit anymore.
Yeah.
But like you said, there was other addiction stuff going on too, but it's just sad.
Plus, there's just a lot of things going on too, and then like how you emotionally feel. Then again, you got different hitting coaches going in and out, and then like the team wasn't very good.
Yeah, they were rough
like the whole thing ends up going together. Like everything plays into everything, right? And like he's not moving really well. I don't know what he's doing in the weight room.
Yeah.
Like you got
Probably
so many
much.
things that are going on.
Yeah. I wonder what it's like being a big name like that, like an MVP candidate, and what they hold you accountable to as far as like weights.
Mm-hmm.
Like if they're just on their own. I imagine they would be, huh? Or do you think the team has them?
Yeah. I mean,
you may know a little bit more than that than me.
Yeah. I mean, I know that like you take a guy like Yelich or something like that. He's not going to be a guy you're going to have like throwing around 400 pounds in the and that's why I think it's actually kind of funny because like you go to college level, it's like they make everybody they make everybody like do all the same general workouts.
Yeah, pretty similar.
And then also too, they make all of their players are kind of the same thing where like, obviously it's a different level, but also something to consider. The takeaway there is that first off that not all my guys, and then somebody would argue, well, what if Yelich put some weight on? Wouldn't he play? Maybe,
Yeah.
Or maybe he'd
Maybe
suck.
not. Maybe it'd be worse.
Yeah, especially and when I say maybe, I mean like it's reality of how you put it on.
Yeah.
Right? If I just put on weight just to put on weight, I've seen that obviously go really bad.
Yeah.
And then also on the other end of being like I'm getting strong where?
Right.
How? Right? And you're putting all those things into it, like that's a lot. There's a lot that goes into, it's not just let me just go put some weight on and lift some heavy weight and I'll be good.
Yeah.
There's a lot that goes into that.
Yeah.
But yeah, so with that being said, I know that, again, like in large, obviously, it's just like any other team. Like you're a rookie on the thing, you're basically, and a lot of times I know like there's a lot of vets. I know that there's been a lot of vets and guys that I've trained where like I had a guy on the Cubs and he'd be like, Contreras and those guys would be like, hey, like we're going to go do yoga or we're going to go do this. Right. And like they would kind of like pull them along with them.
Yeah.
So kind of like that guy's kind of like leading the show kind of a little bit. I mean, obviously you have, required things that certain staffs are going to make guys do and kind of get on them. But also too, like, I know that a lot of things are also like interpoliced,
Yeah.
like kind of like what the leader kind of wants to do
Yeah.
of those positions and some of those things as well. And then also too, I mean, obviously individual coaching staffs are also different, right? Like some guys are, a little bit more loose and, and it's also a little bit different when you're an MVP.
Yeah.
It's just like when you're the best player on a team, it's like, Miggy shows up a little late. You're like,
And most of the time they're the best because they hold themselves accountable, so they don't have to worry about it. What I do wonder though is like, do you think at some point the GM or, I mean, it'd probably be talked about in the contract when you're first signing, but like an intervention where it's like, Chris, what you're doing isn't right. We need to put our guys on you because obviously they're they're independent contractors.
Well, I think that's another thing is that like other people need to do certain things. Like for example, like Miggy's like known to have some alcohol issues. He's known to have some things that are, again, like he's not the most in shape. It was notable last season when he came into like the COVID year, this COVID season, that he was in pretty good shape. Yeah. But he's been overweight many times. Again, like he's overweight right now. Yeah. Right. But with that being said, I think that's the other thing is like, again, I'm saying this as a guy that grew up as a tryhard my entire life and like was always doing all these things, is that I always believed that it was like, oh, well, like I needed to do all those things in some capacity to be able to like compete. Yeah. But also too, like, I think there's this look, if you're a coach, you got to know on this other side, there's a lot of your best players that don't work hard.
Yep.
They just don't.
I got a couple stories about that.
They just don't work hard. And also too, you're like, oh, well, that's why they won't make it. No, I know guys that are in the league that are really good that don't work hard.
For sure. They're
just really talented.
Yep.
And then there's that old statement, well, hard work beats talent when talent doesn't work hard. No. There's guys that will still whoop your ass.
Yeah. Well, so my favorite too is because I played with some guys that quote unquote didn't work hard. It wasn't that they didn't work hard, because when they worked their asses off. Like they were better at everybody else at working hard. They just conserved energy more. That's literally what our second Jake Morgan the year before you got there would say is, look, I'm saving my energy for game day. Like I know when I show up, I'm gonna play better than everybody else. Like and
I also want to be a mindset though, because that's the other thing too is when you go in the physiology wise, it's like in some ways you're saving your energy. Also in other ways, like bro, you'd be recovered by then. So I mean, it's good to have your mindset like that, but at the same point, like there's a difference between mindset and like actual.
This guy showed up. He played in the SWAC. He might be able to find his stats. He broke most of Harper's stats in the league, Wood Bat League. Didn't go to class. Tried to get drafted 3, 4, 5 times. They wouldn't draft him. But the frustrating part for Dink was like, he's the best player in the NAIA probably, and he's been the best player in junior college for 2 years. So it's like it kind of goes back to what we're talking about with big leaguers. Like they're just good.
Yeah.
Like,
well, and again,
if
I
they're
know,
getting it done, how do you hold them accountable?
Well, and I get the point of this as well. I get the point of being like, look, you're trying to do a culture for your team, and you're like, you can't let the best guys get away with everything. But you also got to recognize, like in the real world, it still works like that.
It does.
Yo, if you're my top sales guy and I sell helicopters and you're the top sales and helicopters every single year, bro, you have privileges that other people don't have. That's the point of being the best. You get to do 100%. Things and get away with certain things that other people don't get to get away with. 100%. Right. And like when people say the opposite way and say, no, from the top to the bottom, you're going to do the same thing. It's like, yo, that sounds good until that dude's making, is feeding your entire company or like all those other things. Like there's a point. I'm not saying you can do anything. Yeah. But at the same time, he's going to have a little bit more leeway than your other guys.
And my dad painted it this way because when I first started to help him, he owned his painting company. And me being Switzerland Joe, you know, I like to play politics and keep everybody happy. I'd say that. I'd be like, you're letting so-and-so get away with so much. And my dad would say, if I don't give them benefits, they'll all work the same. Mm-hmm. I know how hard he's going to work if I give him a little bit of leeway. Yeah. Where if I hold everybody to that standard or force him to say, hey, blah, 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 now he's going to stop producing so much to make everybody else feel happy. Yeah. In society, we have that like we participation trophy. Yeah. That's not how the world works. Like you're saying, if you're the best, you're going to have special perks. That's just the reality. Yeah. Well, and also, too, the other side of being like with that is just like, how do I get my best players to perform at their highest? Yeah. Right. If I'm bogging, somebody gave this analogy. I think this was really good. You know how people always say, like, it's a different perspective on this because I thought it was pretty interesting when the guy shared it was how you do anything is how you do everything. Right. That's a common thing that everybody shares. Someone shared obviously the other perspective as well of being like, okay, just because I put off doing dishes, just because I put off folding my laundry, does that mean that I'm going to be a crap player? Does that mean does that mean that I'm not going to produce when it comes to how many sales I make this month? Mm-hmm. Or did I prioritize and put my energy into things that I think needed my energy and put a lot less energy into all these other areas that I felt like needed a lot less energy so that I could produce for sure at my highest level. That's why the point you're making with Jake and Jordy, the two guys we had at Sterling, they were that way. Mm-hmm. Same way. Mm-hmm. A little bit messy, but when they came around to cleaning it up, they cleaned it up. Like that's how they were. It was like the task that I need to do right now, I'm giving it 100%, where some people will give like 20% all the time. All over the place. And now it's like stuff's getting halfway done sometimes. Yeah. And I agree. I think the best do that, honestly. Yeah. Well, and I also see, I think I get the point of like teaching a mindset of like, yo, like there's a certain level of excellence on how we do everything, you know, but I think that it's like almost like that one line from Talladega Nights, right? Where he comes up, he's like, yeah, I wake up in the morning and I piss excellence. Yeah. You know, like that's the thing is just like, even when we pee, we're going to do it excellent. You know, like there's that whole other mind, like do your thing. Like I hear you. Some guys need to be like that because if they go anywhere off that structured road, it's like all downhill. Right. Right. But that's not true for everybody. Yeah. Like some of the highest level producers inside of teams that I've coached, players that I've coached in general, right? And then also some of my highest producers from a business side they don't have everything else in all these other areas in order. Yeah. And they're not going to be your top, their house isn't going to be spotless and they're not going to make their bed every morning and they're not going to do all these other things. But like, yo, that dude gets it done. Yeah. You know, certain things might drain that individual, right? Especially like, I noticed that a lot with like creatives. Yeah. You know, like creatives hate being bogged down by structural thought processes. Boxes. It depletes them and actually drains their creative energy. It's constraining. So when you get that other side of being like, yo, like you almost need to partner them with someone that is structured that can take care of all those other things so that you can let them be a creative. Yeah. You know? And so I think that's also very important for like players in the same sense of being like, yo, like this is where we come and being a team. Now, again, I know that, you know, in some sense, you definitely got to take care of yourself and do other stuff. But, dude, there's plenty of people that, like, that's a role they want to play. Yeah, for sure. To your point, too, the same guy I told you about my dad, this guy would go ahead of everybody and sprint ahead of everybody, and he was partnered with a guy that would come back and was very monotonous. Mm-hmm. And like you're saying with creatives, break down the wall, and my team will come behind me and patch it all up.
Yeah, make it look pretty.
Make it look pretty, dress it up, behind the logistics. That's what most innovators do.
Yeah. Yeah. So I think that's just that's just a big piece that I was like, I think it's super important there is just like understanding that's just not always the case.
Yeah. Well, people don't like to hear it.
Yeah.
Especially, and I understand why, parents. I get it. And I get it for coaches and teachers too, but do we want them to have like a self-deluded perspective, or do you want them prepared?
Yeah.
So when they get out in the real world, they're prepared for
here's the
what's
thing.
going to happen.
This is what it really comes back down to, though. If the kid, okay, look, do it your way. If it doesn't work, yeah, we're going to talk about it.
Yep.
If you're my producer, again, if you're my sales guy, if you're not doing any of those other things and you're not taking care of your business, yeah, we're going to have a conversation.
For sure.
But at the end of the day, like, yo, like, shoot, like you guys have seen me do that as well, where like we've had guys in the company where it's like, oh, he shows up later, he does his other thing. Yeah, but like, is he good? Does he produce us a lot of money? Does he do all these other things? Like, okay, well then I might deal with a guy being 30 minutes late, 20 minutes late.
Well, especially too, we've talked about that where one guy can work 4 hours and get twice as much done as the guy that works 8.
100%. Or
you can't
the
treat
guy
everybody
can,
the same.
or he gets a lot less done than you do, but he makes us a lot more money.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So that's the other side. Is to also think of just being like, yo, yeah, that I mean, for example, there's people that work way more hours than I do. But
for sure.
But with that being said, like for example, like, yo, my mom's a savage. My mom works a lot of hours, right? Yeah. My mom wakes up, goes and works for the school district. She works from, again, she's at the school at like usually 8 a.m. She leaves at like, 3 something or whatever that is, right? Goes and picks up my like nephews, goes right back to her second job and then works till 10 p.m. every day, Monday through Friday.
Grinding it out.
Grinding it.
Yep.
You know what the problem is? I make more money than she does in 4 hours a day.
For sure.
That's tough.
It is.
Right? But that's the other thing though, is again, like, yeah, you have to work more hours than I do to make that same amount of money. But it also comes into the amount of value that you're bringing the business, so the why they pay you what they pay you.
Yeah.
Right? Because again, the same thing too. Again, her second job, she's working at Walmart. She's a greeter. How much money is a greeter making Walmart?
Yep. For sure.
Right? So then you've got to take in that other side and you got to take the full piece. Like, yeah, you're working a lot more hours, but also too, you're providing a lot less value.
Yeah.
Right.
And the managers know that in relation to coaching or playing baseball. It's exactly the argument I used to have with guys at Sterling. You're working your ass off, but you're saying you're doing it for Dinkle. Dink knows who the best player is.
For sure.
I used to say that. The coaches know.
Yeah.
Now, if you need to do it for yourself, that's a different story.
Agreed.
But stop doing things to make the coach happy when he knows you're the greeter.
Yeah.
He knows you're not the sales guy.
Yeah.
Be the greeter.
For sure. And also too, bro, I'm also not telling you not to work hard. Because again, this is coming from a guy that was work hard.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it didn't matter how much work I was going to do. Bo, I knew the first moment that I went to third base, Bo's playing third base. I knew the moment I got there, I'm like, it doesn't matter. Because again, you also have to go the other side of that. Like, I think some people like work in this area of delusion. Now, what was my job? My job was to be the best backup in the nation.
Yeah.
That was my job. In my head, when Bo comes out, I need to be ready that there isn't a big drop-off from me to him. Now, I know my role, though. I understand that I'm not going to start, nor do I want to start because it would hurt the team.
Yeah.
But if I have to start because the team needs me to start, I'm going to be ready to do so.
Yeah.
That's more where my brain is. Now, don't get me wrong. Am I going to come in and think that I'm going to instantly replace Bo Callis? No. Yeah. My job was I'm going to be as good as I can be. I'm going to be as ready as I can be to go in and play and produce for the team. Maybe you tore your ACL in the season.
There was chances that whole year too, because
100%.
I was playing with the UCL problem.
Yeah.
So I knew it was almost like not like an anxiety thing, but I felt a little bit too, because it wasn't just you. It was Stubbs, Pablo. We had a handful of guys that were like, "Can he play?"
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So it was like there was always a chance where your name might be in the lineup.
Yeah, 100%.
Every day.
that's like a different thing of just being like the difference. And I think there's layers here. Is like knowing your role, doing the best to be at your role, and also too, what do you have to do to perform your best?
Yeah.
Those are all three different levels.
I think the first level you talked about, and Cody and I were actually talking about this morning. So many people lack awareness that they wonder why they're the greeter and they're not the manager.
For sure.
That's the first problem you have here. Like, just because you work in the same building doesn't mean that we're operating at the same level. It doesn't.
Yeah.
But majority of Americans, majority of people, view it that way.
Yeah. Well, and that's
it's like Amazon.
Yeah.
I could be Bezos. Then go be Bezos. There's a reason you're not running the company and you're complaining about getting fired, making $16 an hour.
I couldn't get past the first sentence.
The lack of awareness when you said that, I mean, that's it. People are they're deluded, they're delusional.
I could be
because they don't know what it takes.
I could be Bezos really got me. I'm sorry. I could be Bezos. I could be Bezos, but you know what I'm choosing to do? Work at packing orders.
I'm choosing to work for him instead.
I'm sorry. Look, on the other end, like, again, that's on you, player. Like, if you can't look yourself in the mirror and say, yo, this is where I sit. I don't have these skills yet. You know?
Yeah.
There's some really good things about the skill sets that I do have. For
100%.
sure. You know what? And I'm going to really do these things. And also, too, look, I told you this the other day. One of my brother's business partners, he brought this line up. He goes, we all picked careers. We all picked careers a long time ago.
Yep.
This has just happened to where my career is. That we all picked different. Yep. He was talking about because he was like, the company that my brother runs is a marble and granite company. And so they all, like, he's got a bunch of installers, right?
Yeah.
And they all work. He's the investor. And he does like a lot of their HR stuff and a lot of those other things. And so one of the guys was talking about like how hard it is. And he's like, man, you should come out here and do it. He's like, bro, we all picked careers a long time ago. We all went on our own ventures and how we wanted to do things and all that a long time ago. Like, I know my role. Yep. I don't want to do that. That's why I didn't do that.
Yep.
Like, that's why I picked a different career path. That's why I found different ways to make money. That's why I took all the risks that I did because of X, Y, and Z, right? Like, I also knew my skill set. I knew where my most amount of value that I was going to be able to provide was going to be in this other area. That's why I did this.
Right.
You know? So I think that's another thing as well, is like, on the other side, it's just like realizing that, of being like, okay, like, yo, like, they come back to our last episode, like, it's your fault, right? Like, if this is where you are and like this is the skill set that you have, right? You always have the opportunity to develop your skill set and become something very valuable.
Yeah.
Everything that is very valuable at one point was not.
Yeah.
At one point it wasn't.
And everything that was at one point may not be now.
Yeah.
And I think that how many players, kind of for everybody, players, teammates, and now in the real world, people struggle in certain roles because they're aspiring to be something else. It's like the be where your feet are, where it's like you could be the best assistant coach in the country, but you're too worried about being a head coach.
Yeah.
Or you're too worried about being a content creator when you're the best editor. And we have this like redirecting thing where it's like people can't, one, I think it is an awareness, and two, they just don't know what they're good at. I think a lot of people don't know what they're good at.
Yeah.
So it's like they see somebody that knows what they're good at and secure. Well, I could be that guy.
Yeah.
You can't.
Yeah.
You can't be that guy because you don't even know who you are.
Well, and that's the thing. That guy didn't become that guy by trying to be you.
Definitely.
No, instead, they like on the opposite end of that. That's why it's so important. There is just like you're already in a losing battle when you're in a losing battle. That's why I like the thing of like looking up to like, oh, when I grow up, I want to be okay. That's okay. But the problem is when like you go on the other end of like trying to be somebody else.
Yep.
Right? Like, we all have unique skill sets. So the moment that you start trying to be someone else, you've already lost.
Yeah.
You know, it's like a business. You don't try to be Walmart. You take pieces of Walmart. There's things of that is very useful for you and you can bring into your own business. But you don't try to be Walmart because Walmart's going to kick your ass. Walmart's the best at being Walmart.
Yep.
Because they're Walmart. Their whole company is set up to be Walmart.
Right.
You don't even understand why they're Walmart. You don't even understand. You see the exterior of why Walmart is Walmart. You don't even know the inner workings of how, like all of that that's going on.
Yeah.
So like, that's the other thing is like you've already lost. And that's where I think it comes back to the insecurity thing of like, when you're looking around and you're getting in this trap of comparison, right? Of like, oh, well, I want that, or he has something that I don't have, or she has something that I want, or all these other things, right? Like there's a difference of like, and it's not saying not to desire anything, but there's a difference between wanting something and being okay with not having it.
Yeah.
There's two different things. And then also on the other end of that, just because I want something and you watch how somebody got something doesn't mean that you need to do the same things to get that same thing.
Right.
You need to use your skill set. For example, I might watch someone go, whoa, they got millions of dollars, blah, 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 and they're a farmer. Does that mean I'm going to go start a farm? No, they just use their money to buy a Ferrari. Maybe the Ferrari is what I want or whatever, but I'm going to go use my skill set to make my own thing and
make your own way.
And also realize too that different things are valued at different times, right? Like you were saying, and also too, and valued in different ways. What you really like to do might not make a lot of money.
Yep.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
As long as you understand that.
You're okay with that.
Yeah, as long as you understand that. And at the end of the day, if that's your mindset that I need to go make a lot of money, there's a difference between, again, I still think that you need to have probably more so a like passion for business than it is for money. Money is a result.
Yep.
Not necessarily like a money is a result though, right? It's like watching a home run. You don't try to hit home runs.
Yeah.
Right? You do all the things that create home runs.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
It's like I like the philosophy of living, like we always hear it, living within your means, or just taking what I need. Because money, there'll never be enough of it. That's one of those things that'll never be enough. Never be enough money, never be enough love. There'll never be enough of that mindset where it's like those people that are high achievers that do it for money. Like most of the time at the end of their life, they're still the hole there, trying to fill the void with something that's tangible.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about that too. I can't remember what episode it was. Maybe the blind spot one about like your passion or your why. I would definitely say though, if you're trying to build a business, like you need to have a passion outside of the outcome, because you're not going to make money unless you're lucky. It takes time.
Yeah.
And you'll get exposed that way.
Yeah. Well, and on the other side of being we talked about this in church a couple of weeks ago. We're talking about like whatever you make your master, you'll never have enough of it. So if you make money your master, you'll never have enough money. Mm-hmm. If you make external things outside of you your master, then you'll never have enough of it. So you have to be really careful what you make your master. If it's wins, if it's batting average, if it's shoes, if it's whatever you give your time, your talent, your resources to, right, consistently, right? Like, let me see your bank account, let me see your schedule, right?
Yep.
I can see what you prioritize. Whatever you make those things end up becoming your master.
Yeah.
Right? And then so that's why, again, from the church standpoint, he was talking about like why it's important to make Jesus our master, right? Because then we can never have enough of God, right? Mm-hmm. But from what he's talking about and those other things is now when we make in those other areas, then we get in that place of, all of these external things that I need. Yeah. And again, just to fill the hole there is again from the church's perspective that he was talking about is like Jesus being within us. It's an inner thing.
Yeah, it's a me thing.
Yeah, it's a me.
Yeah.
Yeah, where I'm, again, he's within me. That's my fulfillment. Yeah. It's not from all of these external things that, again, like you can take my money, you could take my car, you could take my shoes, you could take my batting average, you could take my career, you could take all those other things. Yeah. And again, like because it's not my master, like not saying that I wouldn't have to adjust. Obviously, I would have to adjust, but with that, and also too, not to say there wouldn't be any emotions attached there, but also too, would it destroy you, or would you, have this emptiness that comes?
My
with
grandpa
it?
used to say that. My grandpa was LDS, baptized Mormon, when he was like, I can't remember, 30s. He had a great perspective. He'd always say, make sure your house is in order. And growing up, I always thought he meant like his house, the physical house. Yeah. And as I got older, he'd always say, like, make sure your house is in order. And I'd be like, but the house is clean. Like, what are you talking about? Yeah. And he'd say, like, make sure your house is in order. because then it doesn't matter what else is going on around you.
For sure.
And if there's a link in the chain,
Yeah.
with you find yourself chasing money, cars,
Yeah.
your house isn't in order.
Yeah.
Better your house in your yard will take care of itself.
Yeah.
That's what he used to say. I mean, obviously you need to go out and do the work.
Yeah.
But if your house isn't in order, it doesn't
No, yeah.
really matter what's going on around you.
Yeah, it's an inside job.
It's an inside job.
Yeah, it's like success is an inside job. And that's the same thing too. I'm pretty sure it's in Romans where they talk about that, about like how if you want to like lead the church, like first you need to lead your household.
Yeah.
And again, like get your house in order.
Yeah.
So
Well, you want to know how somebody's doing internally, just watch how they treat people.
yeah, 100%. Yeah.
If people are telling you you don't give me love, you probably don't love yourself.
Yeah.
Or if you're bitter, or you're angry. We were
Yeah.
talking about that this morning too. Like it's a mirror.
Yeah.
People around us are mirrors of how we feel of ourselves.
100%. Well, and that's where it comes back to again, like hurt people.
Yep.
And then also the point of, what was I going to say? I was going to say something else.
Reach in there.
Trying to think of what I was thinking about. I'll dig it out.
While he's thinking about that, Cody, why don't you share the AB thing you shared this morning? I like that.
Oh, the AD or AB paradigm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Throw the camera up on me. Yeah. So I started. There's an app called Vision Pursue, and my mom's boss introduced it to me. Just through college, had a lot of anxiety, tried to do really well in class, tried to do really well on the field, wanted people to like me, all that type of stuff. And my mom's boss was fairly young, owned his own business, very successful, and just always seemed like very at peace with everything. And I was kind of talking to him about it. He introduced me to this app called Vision Pursue. And a guy who played safety for the Kansas City Chiefs is a big part of it. And he was talking about he always used to be like the hardest worker, was the first one in, last one out type of guy. Felt like he took every rep 110%, lifted, took care of his body, but always felt at the end of the day that he didn't do enough. Like there was always something more to do to be the best he could be. And then he kind of got into this like the mindset. And it's a combination of a lot of things like mindfulness, meditation, your spirituality, physical exercise, journaling, all these different tools that diet that he uses. It's not just one, but he brought up it's called the AB paradigm. And he was talking about how people are always trying to chase B. So they are the A and they're trying to chase B, but B always changes. Like you guys said, money always changes. Like results always change. I'm chasing batting average. Now I'm chasing home runs. It always changes. So then you're always on this constant search for B when you need to focus on it, just expanding your A. And through time, when your A, your process expands, you'll achieve all of these different Bs without having to chase them all separately.
Yeah.
And then, then you're not so focused on the result, and you're not letting that result become you, and you're focused on you and your process, and not letting the highs and the lows take over. When this is your focus, it's grounded, and now that's expanding, and that's how you achieve your results.
Yeah.
Is by expanding that process, and that's been a big part that helped him kind of get to the point. I mean, he wasn't ever the best player in his team by any means, but it helped him come to peace with I was doing enough.
Probably helped him come to peace and realize I was my best. That just wasn't the best on the team.
Yeah.
That's okay too. Like as coaches, we always talk about that. Like you might not be the best hitting coach, but you can be the best you can be as a hitting coach.
Mm-hmm.
And if you're not okay with that, then you're never going to be okay.
Yeah.
Because you're just you just don't have that skill set.
Yeah. And I think that's the society preaches this like obsession type thing, which is got to be careful.
Yeah.
Because it feeds into your life, and there's just becomes this thing of like, again, I'm always chasing all these B's, which again, from biblically, what I was thinking about as you're talking there was like, first seek the kingdom, and everything else will be added to you. So like that same mindset of like, why is that verse important? Is first seek the kingdom, first seek your A, right? First seek what's going on inside of me. First seek God, and then all of those other things will be added to me. I won't be so in search of like I need money and all these other things, because those will all be byproducts. A lot of times the reason that I'm not hitting for average, or I'm not hitting for home runs, or I'm not doing all those things is because I'm trying to go and get them, right? And I'm actually corrupting myself by trying to work on in search of these results, when in reality I should be in search of my process that creates the results.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah, and I've heard you talk about kind of like transactional, which is something like I was the same way as you, kind of a try hard. If you spend more time taking ground balls, then you'll eventually get to that point where you'll be the best at taking ground balls. And it always felt like someone would come in, like for example last year, I had a kid come in and he's just nasty, and he's ended up playing shortstop. It's like no matter how many ground balls I took, I still can't throw 91 across the diamond like he can. So he's gonna play. And like I always viewed it as transactional, like, oh, if I just go take 200 ground balls, I'm going to be better than him. And I felt like that's where the A to B paradigm kind of really applied to me. Like I was focused on the B, just trying to be better than him rather than being the best I could be.
Yeah.
And in all reality, when I took that many ground balls, I mean, it put a lot more pressure on me to be better. And then I got worse.
Yeah, you can no longer be your best self because you're trying to be better than someone else.
Yeah. Well, and that's where I think it comes back into the other side as well, of being like, I like when what you want, I love when like God does that with like what you want, he like gives it to you at some point so that you can realize that that's not it. Like, so it's like the other thing is like, I want to be better than this guy. And then you get better than him, and then you're like, well, that wasn't it. Or, oh man, all I want is to win a championship. And then you win the championship, and then you're like, I thought it was going to feel different. And then you're like, oh, and then like I'm gonna go do all these workouts, and then like boom, I'll feel in shape. And then I've done this so many times. This actually was a big thing for coaches, I'm sure, in that same way for like your guys and like how you view your own bodies and things like that as well. Being like, man, I remember my whole life it was like I was trying to get to this imaginary how I wanted to be in shape, right? And then I'd be in shape enough, right? But then you look back and you're like, whoa. I was in really good shape. But I remember back then thinking I needed to be in better shape. And it was a never ending, evolving, there was nothing to act. There was no finish line. It was just me constantly. And some people are like, that's the thing though. It's always the chase of like always trying to be in better shape. And I'm like, yeah, but also too, there was a lot of bad mental things that came along with that.
Well, I was going to say, and I don't want to speak for you because we didn't go through the exact same thing. Yeah. But pretty similar circumstances as far as what we were doing to our bodies. And looking back on it, I wasn't healthy. Yeah. My body was telling me you're strong, you're buff, but you're cheating. Yeah. You're taking shortcuts. And for me, it was always like, I knew that I wasn't as healthy as I could be subconsciously. Consciously, I thought I was doing what I needed to do. Yeah. But looking back on it now, I mean, we made the comment the other day, I've lost 20 pounds and nowhere near as strong as I was, but I feel healthier. And I think a lot of players go through that coming out of playing. It's like, I kind of treated my body like shit for a long time. But we were just doing what we knew we thought we needed to do to perform. And now it's like playing catch up a little bit there. But yeah, that's what I thought about. You were talking about that stuff.
Well, and also too, the other thing is being like, there's this other mindset. One of my friends talks to me about this quite a bit, is having this deeper level of love for this capsule that's like carrying you through life, which is our bodies, right? Like you have this deeper level of love for yourself of being like, yo, this capsule, everything you've ever experienced in your entire life has come from the capabilities of this capsule. Yep. Your ability to get you from place to place, your ability for it to heal itself, your ability for, again, like the mind to process thoughts and like all of these other things, And so like, then there's this deeper level of appreciation of being like, yeah, like I want to work out. Like, yeah, like I want to be healthy and these other things, but also too, again, I want or have admiration or or desire for
Aspire.
or aspire to be better. But also, that being said, it doesn't mean that I love myself less now.
Mm-hmm.
And that there's another part of that as well. And again, like I know for some people, like that's like a deeper level of conversation of being like it's something we run past of like, oh, like I love myself. Well, yeah, but it's not a check mark, right? We talked about that so many times on the podcast that these things aren't check marks. It
is tough though, to your point. They say that, I mean, it's all manifestation. Everything is, your body is usually a reflection of your mental state too.
Yeah.
So a lot of people that are maybe a little bit overweight, and not all cases of diabetes, but diabetes, a lot of it is an emotional state.
Mm.
You are depressed. You are anxious. You do have trauma you haven't dealt with. So a lot of those people do have trouble loving themselves.
Yeah.
Just because of the lack of awareness. So it's not they're choosing actively to do that.
Yeah.
It's a subconscious thing where they're struggling with these barriers that they just don't. They need help.
Yeah. And then also it's like
out.
a compounding effect. Then also when you're not in good shape, obviously you start viewing yourself as less.
Yeah.
And then it just builds and builds and there's like this.
And physically, even if they're not aware.
Yeah.
It's just tough to do that.
Yeah.
If I'm heavy, the last thing I want to do is go jog.
Yeah.
Or I don't even have the libido and the drive to get up and go to the gym. It's not even it's not even the emotional thing at that point. You have a physical it's hard.
Momentum works both ways. There actually is a guy that did this. I was watching this guy the other day that was talking about this, how he was a personal trainer in like really good shape, some 8-pack, like whatever, right? He was like crazy good shape. And so he had all these clients and they're talking about how hard it is to do a lot of things or to cut cravings or to cut all these other things. And he's just like, all right, well, I'll show you that I could do it. So he got really big and out of shape, like purposely. Got really big out of shape, ate what he wanted, ate a whole bunch of sugars, all those other things, right? And then tried to get back in shape. And he was like, dude, it was crazy hard because he, again, had these before. He didn't eat those things. So like when it was like to cut out a soda, like I don't even eat soda. I don't even drink soda. So who cares? Or like to cut out sugar. It's like, well, I don't really have a lot of sugar. So if I have a little sugar one day and then cut it out the next day, it's not a big deal. Right. But then when you're doing it like consistently and then your body, and again, all those adaptations start to happen, your body starts to rely on some of those things and those cravings to be able to get your body to do it, your daily activities. Now cutting those things out and getting your body back to this other state is much harder because, again, momentum works both ways. It works for you, but it can also work against you.
Yeah.
And so I think that's like the other side of that is like, to your point, is that there is much more going on too, where there actually becomes a reliance from a physiological standpoint on things as well.
The physiological standpoint, you're literally changing your hormones.
Yeah.
An actual hormone imbalance. You lack testosterone. Some of those foods will completely kick off your pituitary. You're no longer producing HGH. Your thyroid's down. Like it doesn't really matter. That guy probably wanted to go do that.
Yeah.
But his hormone levels were literally depleted.
Yeah. To his credit, he ended up getting back in shape. Yep. He ended up getting back in shape, but now he can have he has a different mindset when he's training his guys, where he could go to his clients and be like, hey, like, I know what that's like.
Empathy right there.
Yeah, I know exactly what it feels like to try to kick some of these things and how hard it is from a physiological standpoint that you're fighting some of these other things, right? Where it's not just like, why can't you do it? Because I can do it so easy. Well, he actually put himself like physically really in their shoes to be able to do that. He still had an advantage because he knew what it felt like and knew what he needed to do to get back.
Yeah,
but
he was on the other side of the fence, so he knew.
For sure.
Tying this in with the thing, I don't know if you guys saw that Derek Jeter segment they did with Harold Reynolds.
Yeah.
He talked about a routine and how important that was. And I think that's the biggest thing I've taken away from my playing career is the routine and the importance of, because it's training our bodies, it's training our mind. We're actually literally like scheduling the hormone levels if you can be consistent. And I think that's why athletes primarily do so well after their careers, is because they're just a little bit more disciplined than everybody. Because at the end of the day, it's a discipline thing. That's just like Jeter said. He's like, I did the same routine for 23 years. All it is discipline. Yeah. And that's a guy that was talented, but I mean, he was never, he might not have ever been the best player on his team.
Yeah. I think that's the other thing is like, It's so often that great and talented people say it was just this one thing.
Yeah.
You know, that was just like, well, yeah, but for me, I just had to focus on my discipline.
Yeah.
And then I was
Yeah.
good, right? Or I just had to focus on, I took 200 extra ground balls a day, and that's what made me a great infielder, right? When in reality, like that, we've talked about it a couple of times where typically really talented individuals or really skilled at something, they usually don't know about the 80%. They're not aware of the 80% that they actually do that makes them successful, but they are aware of the 20% that they had to really focus on to push them over the edge of being successful.
Yeah.
So they talk about that 20% and completely abandon the first 80% and then everybody tries to do the 20% and try to get the 100% result. When in reality, they're missing 80% of this equation here.
Yeah.
You know?
Well,
Yeah.
and you guys, some Cody?
Yeah, I was just gonna say. Well, also like the routine's important, but I'd almost argue that there's value in all of the players or anyone's ability to be able to handle what's not a part of their routine. So I mean, if you just follow this routine and you get
Real
scheduled in
rigid.
that,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, the infamous play where he, you know, shovel
backhand
passes
shovels.
I mean, I can't imagine that was a
Even if
routine.
probably never practiced it in his
never.
life.
Yeah.
And so, yeah, this routine's important to him, but his ability to act off script
Yeah.
was what made him great.
Yeah.
For sure.
You know?
And I think that's where you go back to the other point of being like in the a game of adaptability. Within structure gives me flexibility. And so like what I mean by that is that we used to talk about this with how we program. So like how we would program, especially for in-house guys, you know, we would have our prep work or movement work, and then we would have our patterning work, and then we would have our task work. And then within all of that, we would have, you know, beginner, intermediate, and advanced off of those as well. And then so how we would bucket guys and say, hey, you're going to do beginner movement, maybe intermediate pattern work, and then maybe beginning task work, right? So, and then I would maybe take out one thing from within movement work and say, hey, instead of, you know, med ball step backs, you're going to do X. So what happened is the structure, right, gave me the ability to be adjustable with all of my athletes because I already had an overall structure going and everybody knew in large what everybody's going to do. Where again, if he didn't do that one thing that day, we're still okay. Everything's still fine. But if I didn't have the immediate structure, I didn't go to each guy, go individual things for every single dude and say, hey, you're going to do X, Y, and Z, blah, 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 blah. No, we're still bucketing, but then we're also making it individualized by putting people, one, in the first adjustability, by putting them in beginning, intermediate, or advanced, and then also, two, throughout our day, going off of that base infrastructure and then changing out individual items for what they were doing. So I think like, and again, the same thing for guys within a routine. That's why I talk about like T work or staple work being so important. Like to his point is that, yeah, there is some crazy stuff that's going to happen every day, plays that I've never practiced or never, all those other things. But like some people would argue, well, I have to practice that play to be good at it. Well, he never practiced that play to be good at. There's obviously skill transfer, right? And there's skill transfer where he maybe practiced that skill, which would be, again, running across the field, catching a ball, and then flipping.
Yeah.
But he never did that exact task that they asked him to do there.
Yeah.
He just practiced all the little tasks and had that infrastructure, and then, you know, obviously put that in mind with his mindset and all those other things. And
Yeah, when I think for him, and I don't want to speak, this is my assumption of him, a guy that was good but not always the best. He knew if I was disciplined and did what I need to do, that frees up my mind for the sixth tool. I don't need to worry about this backhand play because I've done it 100 times. I don't need to worry about the forehand play because I've done it 100 times, 1,000 million times. And then when the opportunity arises, he's free. He's worked enough to know I'll just react to the game.
Yeah.
And I don't know about you, but there were times defensively where I was sitting here thinking about the fundamentals because I thought I wasn't prepared.
Yeah, and that's where I wanted, and I think to your point too earlier, and literally what you just said there, is that, but okay, and I want to paint this picture. Yo, Bo and I were always taking extra ground balls.
You took more than me, though.
Well, I had to, Garth.
Sometimes I'm not going to lie. Sometimes I would be like watching these fools being like, y'all working too damn hard over here.
No, I honestly, for me with that though, is again, it's so funny, I think at different perspectives, is I didn't take mass fungo like that until I got to Pine Bluff. because when I was in junior college and high school, they had me playing so many different positions. And then also we had limited coaches because our teams weren't that good.
Yeah.
So I didn't get a lot of fungo.
Yep.
You know what I'm saying? So then all of a sudden I got to a Pine Bluff and then they threw me at third and I'm like, yo, like I can take 30 minutes straight of ground balls. That's hype.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Where they're just hitting me ground balls and I'm just doing mass fungo.
Yeah,
like
during
that was
practice.
Yeah, that was like wild to me. Like I
Yeah.
never had that opportunity, right? So then now all of a sudden, and then I got big jumps in how good I was at fielding ground balls because all of a sudden I started taking a lot more ground balls. So I got way better, right?
Yeah.
So, but then by the time, the problem is though, is by the time I end up getting to Sterling, you think of how many ground balls you've taken compared to how many I have.
Yeah.
Even if you did it for a whole year
Yeah.
more than I did, on top of already being more athletic than I was and like all those other things.
Yeah.
But, and to that, I also knew that that was a weakness of mine, is that I'm like, okay, like the only, I need to be able to, I had a cannon.
Yeah.
Right. But I was just like, well, at that point I was hurt, but still like,
threw the ball well.
you know, I still threw, even with a freaking torn shoulder, I could throw the ball across the diamond a lot harder than most guys.
Yeah, you had a good arm.
So I'm like, okay, I have no problem. I just literally
Yeah.
need to keep the ball in front of me.
It's we're kind of far in. I don't want to open up too big of a rabbit hole, but this is
So we're going Joe Rogan on this
this
bad
is
boy.
something that
We got
Cody
time.
and I talked about.
Joe
and
Rogan.
You mentioned it too, about just barely about how many ground balls I took.
Yeah.
We talked about playing multiple sports or just playing the game. And our practices when I was younger were like a game. Like I've been taking mass fungo since I was like 10,
Mm-hmm.
but I also played for a big leaguer.
Mm-hmm.
So like when I got to high school and we weren't doing that,
Mm-hmm.
we started doing it because we had two guys that did that.
Let's just quickly hold that thought.
Yeah.
I want to differentiate what I consider mass fungo compared to
Ground balls.
what a lot of people think mass fungo is, especially
Yeah.
at a youth level.
Yep.
So mass fungo, the difference between mass fungo and taking ground balls is obviously when they put mass in front of it. Like I'm taking hundreds of reps within 30 minutes. So if you're just hitting ground balls to every part of your field and hitting balls to alpha, no. I have a designated guy between me and one other person, and I'm getting rep after rep after rep after rep after rep. That is very different than like, oh, we did team defense and we took 10 ground balls this whole time. No,
if I'm lucky.
I took 10 in like freaking 2 minutes.
Yeah, we had a designated hitter for us. We had like 5 or 6 guys hitting fungos.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I wanted to differentiate that because I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, we're gonna do mass fungo, and then they don't understand when I'm talking about like how many ground balls that I'm actually taking.
And that's why like I don't want to sound like a fairy, but like Phil was so big for me because when I was younger and developing the proprioception, gaining awareness from my body, I was taking ground balls, a lot of ground balls. So like I knew what it felt like, and I wasn't always taught either. My coach hit it hard and would be like, get it in your glove. Don't hit it in your body. Get your hand out of there and get it in your glove for 5-6 years.
Yeah.
So like I can teach it better now, but at the time it was all Phil. Even when I was at Sterling, we'd talk and I'd be like, you know, you just get your body in this position, get around it. Like,
Because
Phil.
I'd be asking Bo, I'd be like, yo, like on this particular, Pablo was awesome at that.
He had
Pablo
great
and Bo were different.
Yeah.
I
was just a little bit more athletic.
Bo was a little bit more athletic, and he would just do it. Like he'd do this certain play, like a certain like backhand across his body or something like that with like a bare hand or whatever, this certain angle, right? And then also when you're playing third base and you start getting into depth, where I field it with how hard the balls hit, and also too sometimes when I would have to go like even if it's hit harder, I had to go get it.
Yeah.
Like more aggressively than you normally would want to because of either, a number of variables, like the guy obviously that's running, but also too with the angles that I had to be able to throw the ball to first base to make sure that I limited my errors on throwing because how that guy's running down the line, I have a limited window to actually hit it where I needed to go.
100%.
So we would talk more in depth on like, hey, yeah, you can wait for this ball, but also your angle is going to be different. And so we'd go like in the weeds of like understanding like all that.
A lot of it too, to your point there, and kind of what I mentioned with Cody the other day, the internal clock, people don't develop it until late, in my opinion, because it's just not talked about and you don't practice it. Even mass fungo, like doing it with the thought process, I have X amount of time, and you develop the awareness. Like I'm not thinking about that in the game.
No,
but you're reading the ball and you're like, I got to go get this because I've practiced this exact situation.
Yeah.
Maybe not consciously, but by taking a million ground balls, knowing I have this amount of time, okay, I need to get it on the back end and I better get rid of it.
Yep.
If I throw it away, he's safe anyways.
Yeah. I mean, you basically are like coaches practice that with that, like basically like 3.5 seconds. 4 seconds is like standard, but that's when the guys hit the back.
Yeah.
Like that's your fast guys. Like there's guys that can get down the line in another 4 seconds. So really, you need to get it there in like 3.5 to 3.7. You know, it's like we really need to get from the ball. By the time the ball hits the bat, by the time it's in the first baseman's glove, that's when it needs to be.
Yeah.
So guys do that with like stopwatches, right? Like they hear the crack of the bat, you know, and the crack of the glove. Like that's and you're timing that. So you could train it.
Yeah.
But like you're saying, like also a lot of it's feel. Like I used to again when I was younger. Then I had that clock in my head, but like, dude, I didn't have any awareness.
Yeah.
The guy at the plate's 250 pounds and, you know, he's a high school kid and he's going to take him 6 seconds to get down the line. I could play this ball different.
Yep.
You know, I can wait for the one more hop and then make an easy throw to first base and we're good.
Yep.
So then you develop all these other skills of understanding like how to make the best play.
I think that's why I love Arenado. I love watching him play defense because he doesn't always do that necessarily. Like he'll complete the play like it's still like he's got 4 seconds.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where I'd get myself in trouble playing is that I would think that. And I had enough awareness to be like, this guy's slow.
Yeah.
But now I'm taking 3 shuffles, drop my elbow slot down, and I freaking throw it over the fence because I took my time.
Well, and that's the other thing. That's the other thing too, where again, like that's where it gets in depth and different. Is like some guys again have to always play aggressive because then they start sitting on their heels and they're like, I'm gonna wait for this ball because I have time. There's a difference between that and being like, okay, like for example, when I used to catch, and a guy like one time it was like ball in the dirt, and I scooped it. And the guy's like, again, 250 pounds running to second base. And so I scooped it and then try to throw a rocket to second. I would have threw him out by freaking 40 feet.
You could have ran
right?
and tagged him in.
Yeah, and my ball had so much, spin on it, right? It had arm side run, and it ran 6 feet up the line, and now he's safe at second base, where it's like I literally could have threw a lollipop to second base, and I would have had the guy out, right? So, like, that was, like, one of those scenarios that I remember, like, in my head, like, that I'm like, yo, like, again, I scooped it. He read ball in the dirt. But I scooped it and all again, set my feet, make a nice clean throw across the diamond. Like we'd have had him easy money, just play catch. Yeah. So that's the thing of like, again, like smooth is fast, fast is smooth.
That's why, I mean, I like it too, because I don't know about you, Joe, but like we've talked about coaching and the pressure and the constraints that we feel that prevent us from performing. A lot of that, like you were saying, was putting me in a box of like you only have 4 seconds or now I'm swimming as opposed to like playing the game. That's what we talked about the other day is like, you just need to play the game more, especially younger, like develop the feel.
They're playing a lot of games now though. What do you think?
They are.
They're playing a lot of games. They're playing way more games than when you and I were younger.
But they're not really playing the game.
It's very like prospect-like. Yeah, I hear you.
It's not playing. And when I say playing, I mean more like, I don't know if you were this way. We would play wiffle ball in my front yard all the time. Every day we played wiffle ball for 3 or 4 hours.
I played a lot of wiffle ball.
Like play the game, play pickle, play hot box, play develop.
I think
like games, because the games now too, it's so transactional.
Yeah, I was gonna say it also it really comes back to a lot of things though is just also having a really good coach.
It does, because
this is the thing is like my players, for example, were like super savvy when we for a high school level. Yeah, because we were talking, the things I was talking about with my shortstop and my second baseman were like, like certain individual plays, like, hey, on something like that, this is when we would want to run X, Y, and Z. And then this is why we'd call this and this type of timing pick. And this is why we would do, because look at who you got on the mound. Is he very athletic? Yeah. No, it's probably not a really good time to call this certain play, right? But let's say we have, Stubbs on the mound or whatever, right? Or whatever, something's happening where I have a really good, athletic guy on the mound that's really a position player or he's a two-way guy. We can do something different with this guy just because, again, like, know our teammates and who's going to be, the odds and probability.
You're teaching them how to have feel and how to develop the 6 tool. Yeah. A lot of coaches, and this is my theory, we used to say at Sterling, was a lot of coaches didn't have that tool and a lot of coaches didn't have feel. So, of course, they're not going to be able to coach it, or they're not going to prioritize it.
And also, too, you might have not have been, like, why was Pablo so good is because at that, when I asked him questions on, like, I had feel of knowing, I'm not moving like Bo is on that ball, and I can't create the same angle that he's creating, so what am I doing?
Yeah.
Right. And that's how my brain worked. So then I would go to you and you'd be like, well, I kind of just
got to put your body in this position.
Yeah, and I just,
throw it like this, and you're like,
shotgun it from your hip.
I can't do that. So what do you need
I know,
me to do?
exactly, right? And then also, too, to be fair, I don't want to paint that as the picture that you just didn't think about anything because we did have a lot of deep conversations. But Pablo was on another level. Like
he was aware of it in that moment.
And he was like another infield coach literally for our whole team.
Yeah.
He would set up drills, or when we're doing mass fungo, he would say, hey, we're going to take this type of ground ball. We'd tell the mass fungo guy, like, hey, we want to like a mid-level like backhand that we have to come and get, field like backhand and like go across the body, or we want to practice a certain type of hop, or and we would do these things and practice things in particular, like specific things that we were working on.
Yeah.
And so like, especially if like he saw a deficiency, like he was really good at looking around the team and like our infielders and being like, oh yeah, he's really bad at that one play.
Yeah.
Right. Like for example, like Stubbs was really bad at a lot of plays, but he was stupid athletic.
Yeah, he'd
like,
make up for it.
Yeah, dude. You remember all the bare hand crazy stuff he would do? He would just like the ball would hop, or he'd put himself in a bad position and just barehand it.
Well, his awareness too, man. Like, I don't know how, because going to his left, he struggled sometimes.
Yeah.
But his awareness was so good, he'd turn that ball, like he would backhand it this way sometimes.
100%.
Because he knew his deficiency.
Cody, I'm not kidding you. I'm talking about like, think of like a normal ground ball. He overruns it or something. The ball hops and he would just barehand it and then throw the guy out across the diamond. Like he had a mitt on his other hand. Like we would just be like, and he would, some of the like crazy hops, he would just get a bad hop and he would just barehand it, dude.
Mm-hmm.
And
it was legit.
He was, and again, like also, like I said, he might mess up a routine ball because he was like, he'd run pass balls. All the time. Like he would overrun balls all the time. But he was like a really, and again, like our other guy, like Pablo wasn't as athletic, but he was like it's like Jeter. It's like Jeter in the way of he's going to make all of your routine plays.
Yeah.
And he's not going to, Jeter, we talked about this as well. This is one of my coach's arguments, but I used to say this all the time, right? Like really good shortstops, they make most plays look routine, right? Where I'm just going to throw this out here. This is going to start a whole nother can of worms. And I agree with my coach that he would say this. Jeter had to do the backhand jump throw so much because he was slow to his right. That's what he used to say that. Like, again, like, why does he have to do that play so much? I'm not saying, I'm just opening it up, but it's just like, again, like, think about it. Like most guys, like for example, and this is a whole nother can of worms. Him diving into the stands.
Yeah.
What would most guys do in that scenario? They'd slide.
Yeah. Or do something.
They'd slide.
Duck and hit the wall or
but think about it, right? If me and you were running to a corner, right? Like, because we used to do this, right? We're running to a corner on a ball like that. Yeah, we're gonna slide and
probably
and going into the, and a lot of guys do that, right? And don't get me wrong, like do your thing, right? If he's in full, I get it, he's in full stride. He was like outreach and he catches the ball, like the whole thing.
Yeah.
And again, like great for him, like you made the play. But also with that being said, right? Like you got hurt.
Yeah.
Right. So you also got to make the next play. Now, if you're out as a shortstop,
I wonder,
like there's a lot going on there, but still all those stuff.
To the last point before I talk about the backhand.
Yeah.
I wouldn't be surprised because I actually, this is in high school. It was a football, but it works because we played at Juan Diego and they had a fence that was like knee height. And it was pretty close to the out of bounds line. So our coach would always
out of bounds
or the out of
foul
bounds
line.
No, this is football.
Okay.
Sideline.
Sideline. Got
And
it.
so our coach would always say, if you catch a ball in the corner and you get close to the fence, jump over or dive.
Yeah.
Because I don't want you to hit it with your knee and flip over, tear your ACL or whatever.
Yeah.
So as a Jeter fan and as a Yankee fan, I want to give him the benefit of the doubt and saying he was trying not to hurt himself, but at the same time, he caught it like 6 steps before the freaking thing.
Yeah. Well, I want to say he took maybe 2 strides and then had to go into the stands.
Yeah.
So I mean, and when you watch it, I mean, it is really fast and like he's sprinting full speed. I'm not discrediting. I'm not discrediting that.
Sure.
But I just think in large that in that play that a lot of the times like guys would just slide.
Yeah.
They would slide and catch the ball. Now, don't get me wrong. I mean, there's a head drop. Maybe he misses the ball. Maybe a lot of things can happen. Do your thing, right? At the end of the day, you made the play. All great. But going back to the other thing of the backhand is that he did do that play a lot.
I was gonna say
A lot. There's a time and a place for that play, but he
Yeah.
did that play a lot. That's known as his play.
Yeah.
I was gonna say, depending on how one athletic and two confident you are, like for practice, like to your point about the routine plays, I felt like I needed to do kind of like the discipline thing, so I could be free to make the play Pablo has to practice, because I feel like I can just react to it.
Yeah.
Or I can't, the routine I need to do. So saying that with Jeter, I would think it would just be like a confidence and a consistency thing, because he would slow down and he would do it and throw it. Like,
yeah, he felt
it
comfortable
was
with
like
that
his
move
play.
for sure.
Like it was just, he'd get it accurate. He could one hop
and he
it.
one hop it off the
It
grass
was
and
better.
boom. Yeah,
and
it was a skip.
his arm wasn't the strongest either. So it was like, I need to get rid of this. So
Yeah.
the quickest way to get rid of this is to transfer it and throw it in the air, as opposed to, planting, getting up and trying to be a hero with my arm. He just didn't have the arm strength. Kind of like Pablo that way. Pablo practiced this play on the run because his arm wasn't very strong.
I was going to say that. I was saying that a lot of guys would solve that problem. Like the play that Jeter's usually making in the hole like that, a lot of shortstops go get it as they're backhanding and then throw across their body.
Yeah.
Or the opposite end, it's again, guys field it, stay on their back leg and throw a
they
rocket,
almost like
one
plant.
hop.
They like plant here and then throw it over. That's like what Simeon does. And he'll bounce it.
He'll bounce it.
Bounce it.
Because that's another thing. That's a whole other thing. We're getting into some infield stuff here. That was a whole other thing. Is when I started teaching our infielders, because again, a lot of high school infielders have weak arms. So I used to talk about that and angles. So I used to talk about that with my middle infielders as well, of when is a good time to bounce, right? And so at certain angles, especially when you're going like up the middle and backhands on certain hard angles, it's a really good time to bounce it, and then learning where you need to bounce it on the field to get a good one hop to obviously to your first baseman.
Yeah.
Because again, a lot of those guys are on the run and they don't have the arm strength and they're spinning or whatever they're doing. And I'm like, dude, you're going to short hop, or you're making it really hard on our first baseman. And our first basemen were kind of like just like meatheads that could kind of swing it a little bit.
Yeah.
They weren't the best like picking. High school first basemen are not typically the best at picking a lot of the balls. And the infield is kind of rough. So you put all those things together. I'm like, but if you give them a good one hop, like again, long hop, no hop, right? Like kind of that mindset. It's like a lot of those guys we started talking about that as like, it could be a really good time to one hop that ball.
And it still gives them a chance too for that the depth that you're throwing it from. It's like it gives your first base, like you're saying, it gives them a chance, even if it two hops, if it long hops, if it short hops, as opposed to you trying to airmail it.
Yeah,
and now it's
it's
gonna
get
bounce.
a bunch of you get a bunch of spin on your ball, especially like when you're spinning up the middle.
Yeah.
That one hand play up the middle.
Yeah.
And then you're throwing across your body and your ball's freaking
Yeah.
hooking towards the first baseman. That's a really hard ball to pick.
It is.
So like again, if you could spin, take a little off, make it with like again get some good spin on it, and let it just hop into them. It's like it's a lot easier.
The bouncing balls though, because I used to think that I'd watch like Scott Rowland. Arenado, obviously, and Machado. Like sometimes when they bounce it, because I've heard people I'm watching the game with, they're like that bounce. I was on the other side of the pitcher's mound, like towards third base.
Yeah.
But it's like you don't understand. They don't want to throw it away.
Yeah.
They would rather miss short because it's going to be bang bang either way. Like I'm gonna miss short so my first baseman could body it. If I try to be a hero, Machado throws about 110.
Yeah.
If he airmails it, it's potentially 3 bases. Like I'm
for
gonna
sure.
miss short. That's just, when I played third, it was that way too. Like
I'd
rather hit the mound and have it skip.
Yeah. Well, and also the other thing is like obviously Wake, you're saying as well. Like let's say it doesn't go into the stands, but let's say it kicks down the line, right? Hopefully your right fielder's there like backing up, but also too your outfielder's got to be really good at reading the angle of the infielder
100%.
of where the again geometry, like where is it going to ricochet?
Yeah.
And then also too with that, right? Like again, it could hit something to kick a whole nother angle, and he's over there playing against the fence, and now it's in right field, and there's nobody by it.
I was gonna say that because I know you played a little bit of outfield too.
Yeah.
My coaches used to say that because I played everywhere.
Yeah.
And they'd always say that if the ball's hit, sprint.
Yeah.
I said no. I'm not gonna sprint.
I said no.
I'd say I'm gonna see where he fields it, the angle he's at, and when it's out of his hand, I'll run to the spot. But I'm not just gonna
randomly run behind,
because I mean that way too. Where like I'm sure you were that way being a try hard. I was too growing up. It was like I was always in the right spot. Like I'd back pick. You'd have to be there, but it definitely wasn't because when they hit it, I sprinted to first base.
No. Yeah, I think
I
that's.
mean, it's a good practice.
And I know I know it's a general thing for a lot of guys. Like, hey, you need to be in this area, and this is generally where the ball is going to be. But when you really start to get into it, you have to watch again. If the third baseman is coming up to get a bunt, that's a much different angle than if he's throwing in the 6 hole. The ball is going to ricochet way different, or where you need to be backing up is in a whole nother place. And then, like I said, like everybody notices the backup when he's there to field it, but when he's there and the ball ricochets another direction, like everybody just like, oh well, at least he was in the area. It's like, no, well, like no, realistically, he should have been in the right area. And if you understand now, don't get me wrong, if the first baseman, deflects it or any of that's a whole nother ball game. But I'm talking about like a straight like overthrow or pass, it goes right past the first baseman, he missed the scoop or whatever. There's a certain area, especially if again, let's think about this, especially on a normal size field. If I'm playing right field, I'm probably 275 feet into the outfield. At least,
probably
at least, right?
Probably.
Maybe 280, right? 270, whatever that is, right? I have, again, remember, 3.5 seconds.
Yeah.
To run all the way to where I need to be.
Yeah.
So most likely, I'm not actually going to be there for the backup. I'm going to be there for the ricochet.
100%.
So if I'm going to be there for the ricochet, I'm not running to where he's going to miss it, but where he's going to miss it, it's going to hit the wall, and then I'm going to be there. And then I got to remember also, where does this fielder typically miss?
Yeah.
For you, for example, right? You would drop a lot. So, your ball is probably going to hook a lot more, right? So I know that your ball is probably going to go to the right side of first base more often than it's going to go to the left side of first base, right?
Yeah.
Where certain guys again, are going to miss, they're more like Stubbs was usually like more over the top.
Yeah.
So his balls are more
it's
left
running
side.
to the left
yeah.
side.
A lot of times it's more left side.
A lot of times too, I want to put myself as the right fielder in the best position to throw. One, I know that they're probably going to get second.
Yeah.
I'm giving that base up more than likely. I'm setting myself up to make a throw to third base. And I would always want to field the ball off my left foot so I could spin and throw it to third. So like a lot of people I see too, I used to say this all the time at Sterling. I'm like, look, you're running the ball too far. You can't get around it a lot of times. You're going to catch it like in between. So now you're taking another step to try to reposition my hips. It's just like we'd field the ball to my left. If I'm running this way, it's almost better to field it off my left side than to handcuff me here.
100%.
So wait for the angle, position your body to spin and make a throw. Like you watch those big leaguers that throw guys out in the outfield, there isn't a lot of wasted steps. It's like it's in my glove and it's getting thrown.
Yeah, I gotta get it out of my hand. It's just like the quarterback, like taking like they're talking about that with like Brady. I was talking to you about that the other day. Is like he's actually quicker now to get rid of the ball than he was when he was younger. Because he's working on how quickly he gets the ball and how all these little extra movements that he was doing to get rid of the ball. And also too, the game has gotten faster, so he's had to get better. He's had to get better where he's like, I got to get the ball out of my hand quicker because first off, they know I'm Tom Brady. I'm going to throw the ball. I'm not going to run, right?
No.
If I have to, and there's certain scenarios, sure, but I'm not, Michael Vick or something, right? Like I'm going to throw the ball. So guys are trying to, obviously, he's got to get the ball out of his hand quick because that's what they know that what they're trying to do majority of the time.
Yeah.
So I think it's the same thing too, right? It's like the same thing with like pop times for catchers and all that stuff. You're trying to get rid of wasted movement always.
Yeah.
And
same with the Jeter play, like they're putting themselves in the best position to throw almost every time. I mean, like with feet, goes back to our feet when we were talking about our fielding and how sometimes why we struggled. We're just trying to get the ball in our damn glove. Like I'm not even thinking about making the throw. I need to get it in my glove.
Yeah.
There's so many kids that, especially on those backup plays, where it's like it snowballs because they're not in the best position. So then they try to hurry, and now that Airmail's on the other side, the left fielder probably is in center field playing patty cake.
Yeah.
And now the ball's in the other corner, and now they've scored.
I want to point this out as well. I know we're a little in the weeds here, but also with that being said, though, that was the level that we were playing at.
Yeah.
We went to the World Series. We were a World Series team.
This is in the weeds, but this was regular daily conversations in the locker room.
For sure.
How are we going to handle this if it kicks away into the corner?
For sure.
Yeah.
Or on this bunt defense, where does the second baseman need to be if I have the angle
every day
to throw?
We were talking about this again, like I said, while we're taking Mass Fungo, I'd be over there. I always took it at a couple different positions. I think you usually did second and third.
Yeah.
Usually did second and third. I usually did a little of all of it. It was like, might put me in there at some point. Somewhere. I think I did play every infield position at one point.
I thought you might have caught. Maybe it was a bullpen.
It was probably bullpen. I used to catch when I was younger. But yeah, so like I would go take ground balls with everybody. And I also was trying to learn from everybody. Or like Pablo played short, so I like to go over there with him a lot. And so I played some short with him. And then again, obviously at third, like there's just, there's different angles. There's different things you have to be worried about at different positions. Also too, if you're not used to playing third, people just think that like people think you could just put a shortstop over the third. We try to do that.
It's tough.
Yeah.
It's a tough thing because you're from middle infield, you can see their hands. You can see how they're moving. You can read angle a little bit different. It's a different read. You get to third base, and a lot of times you're like behind his back.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, again, it's either soft or it's a rocket.
Yeah. You can't.
So
Spin of the ball too.
the spin of the ball is different.
I was going to say when I first started playing third, because I always played short and second, the spin was the toughest.
Yeah.
Because it's short, you can see if it's side spun, top spun, or hooked or true spin. Third base, I don't know until that first time it hits the ground.
You remember?
Even then, I'm like, oh shoot!
You remember that one start that I got at what was that other
Bethel?
Kansas?
Or
You see how he remembers because there's like two of them.
Baker.
Yeah, Baker.
That ball was smoke, Garth. If you're talking about the one that went between your legs.
Hey. So I get started at Baker. I remember this ball. I was.
He knows the start. He knows the school. He
Because
knows
it's
the
like it
ball.
was yesterday, bro.
No, because we talked about this. Was so funny, bro. Like, okay, so I'm playing third base, and there was a bunt, and what happened with the bunt?
For some reason, you were playing like 8 feet away from the hitter, Garth.
Yeah. So, no, that was the exact scenario that we talked about on the last podcast. They had a really big divot at third. So either I had to play really deep or really in, and my arm, I wasn't prepared to start. He just said, "You're starting." I was like, random. I'm like, okay, like, all right, I'm playing, right? So I'm playing third base, and their third base is like really bad. And him and I talked about it because he played third the game before.
Yeah, I was playing left this game. That's why I remember it too.
Yeah, and he was playing behind me because he's playing backup for me. He's just getting all those balls that I missed. So, I was playing in. I think it was also like first and second or something like that. Like it was a bunt scenario, right? And dude, the guy at the plate was kind of big though.
He was like their four hitter. That's why I was looking at from left field, and I'm like, Joey, if Dinkle's telling you to play there, take a step back.
Yeah. So no, well, you know what I think what it was? We were also in a bunt D.
We were the crash.
We were in a bunt D. So we were in a bunt D, and I was reading from the shortstop, and like we were running a couple different plays. So we had all these different plays that we were running. So I was playing in, and I was reading how we were doing this because I think they did like a fake bunt steal early in the game or something like that.
In the first game too.
So yeah, and again, we're supposed to demolish Baker, right? But he's like in this game, we're kind of playing a lot of backups.
It was tight.
Yeah,
it was like I think it was tight.
Yeah,
we were down by one.
And we're playing a lot of our backup guys because it was like a midweek game. And so like we needed to save some arms. We needed we've been playing around. We're like mid-season at this point. And so in any case, it's kind of a tighter game in the beginning of the game. And so I'm playing in. I'm trying to like read. Bro, I swear to you, this kid hits a rocket like 1 hop, 2 hop skip. Like, I mean, it's 100 plus.
It's the hardest ground ball at third base is the one that's backspun.
Yeah.
That starts low, and after it hits, it's like rising.
Yeah.
But it's not like, it's almost like a rocket.
Yeah.
So it's like here, and then it just rides.
It scoots.
Yeah.
I thought it was going to get him where it counts, honestly.
So, bro, I don't know if you had this situation where he hit it, and immediately I remember like the one thought that hit my head was square it up. Just keep it in front of you. Like, I mean, he hit a rocket. So soon as he hit it, I just went like this. And I was just like, I'm gonna let it hit me. I'm gonna let it hit me. I'm gonna let it hit me. I'm gonna pick it up, step on third, throw him out at first. Like that was like, I'm gonna let it hit me. So he hits it. I just go like this, bro. The ball went right through my legs. Boom, right through my legs. Here comes Bo. Here comes Bo. We're trying. They ended up stopping at third. Right, they didn't score a run from it because the ball was hit way too hard. Dude. But I just remember sitting there, and then I'm like, I finally get this start. I think I made it I made some cool play later on, like in the 6 hole, so like spun around, threw a guy out. But like I think there was like a bunt that I didn't get the guy out on, and then like this ball went between my legs like that rocket.
It always happens that way, though. I feel like in those spot starts.
Yeah.
At least every single time at Utah Valley, where I'd get a spot start, man, it was like they're gonna challenge you with an easy one. They're gonna challenge you with like a bump play, something that like you need to practice.
Yeah.
And then there's gonna be a couple rockets.
Well, and
it's
it's
the worst.
And it's one of those things.
love those
It's one of those things of like it's more of like you're saying like when someone's like rusty, right? Because they haven't really started. It's more of those things of like an anxiety play, where of like a bunt or something like that, where it's just like it's like. You know when like a ball would be hit on a no hitter and you're like that ball's trouble. Like it's like one of those. Yeah. It's like one of those where it's like it's not routine. It's like that ball's trouble.
You get a coach with Sav. I think I mentioned this on the last podcast, Oklahoma Wesleyan.
Yeah.
I think Stubbs played third one game.
Yeah,
came in late.
Yeah, I remember.
And they bunted like 5 times in a row, bro.
And he made like 3 errors.
And Parker, he's savvy. He do like push bunts, fake bunts, still. So Stubbs like, okay, fake bunt still. They still third.
Yep, and no one's covering. No one's covering. And then I mean, it's like playing somebody on like MLB The Show. Yeah. Like I mean, they were really messing with him. Yeah. Like he made like three errors in a row. I mean, and this is an All-American shortstop. Like I mean, he's good. He's really good. He's just really athletic though, right? So yeah, they were just messing with him like and making some plays where there's a lot of moving parts, and you got to know. You got to be savvy of like what to do in those scenarios of how to go back and go get, and how to like, it's a lot of angles.
We were talking about that. Haley asked me that because it ties in, but like trick plays or like putting pressure on. I was watching it because we were watching Utah and BYU. In BYU, football will try to like rush their offense on the field and snap before the defense can get off the field. A lot of colleges don't do that. A lot of pro teams will never do that. But college level, that's another thing. At NAI too, man, they get scrappy.
No, yeah,
like it doesn't.
Well, that's how it was.
Like
why
all the written rules go out the window.
Well, that's why it was a different. That's why it was a different level when you play, and we talked about this before way earlier. But like, in the SWAC, they used to tell me when like, okay, this is Division I, but this is a different game because 1 through 7 all have
they can bunt.
They all run like 6.260s, 1 through 7 on the whole team. Yeah, and a lot of them can't hit, so they hit a lot of ground balls and they bunt a lot and they play a lot of trick plays, and there's a ton of speed. So it's a whole nother game. So now, again, like I said, you're playing a team and you're like, dude, baseball player wise, we're way better than these guys, right? Yeah. We have guys that are throwing over 90 plus. We have guys, like we have 5 guys on our team that are throwing over 90 plus. We got some nasty dudes. We got guys that we could, we could hit 8 home runs this game. Yeah. But you're playing another team where, bro, they might hit 90% ground balls this game. And the infields are okay. And they're really fast. Like, I mean, if you pat one time and you do anything extra, the guy's safe. And then he's still in second and third. So it's like, you're in trouble. Like, I mean, they're very fast. The whole lineup though, not 3 guys, like the whole lineup could run on you.
It's a different pressure. That's why
different.
100%. We used to argue that at Sterling too, the mid majors. Yeah. I tell them it's tough to play. It really is tough to play at that level. Yeah. Not because the game itself is tough. It's the same game, but the way the theory, the way they're coaching it, the way they're playing, they put pressure on you.
And
the whole game.
And we talked about it. We definitely talked about it. Like, we talked about it in meetings, and I'm like, I get it. They're fast. Like, I played against fast guys before. Like, whatever. And it's really not crazy. And then all of a sudden, it's the 8th inning, 7th inning, and it's a 2-run ball game. And here comes the schoolyard bullshit. Here comes the schoolyard bullshit. Now, all of a sudden, it's like, drops a bunt. They got crazy fans. And, I'm saying you're playing Grambling, or you're like, I mean, you got some crazy fans going. Everybody's yelling like it's chaos for a second, right? You throw a ball away. The he's going first to third. Boom, all of a sudden, now the next guy comes up, drops a squeeze. That guy scored, and then he's on first. Now he's still second. It's like, what the hell just happened?
Yeah, the whole game speeds up from the speed.
Yeah,
literally.
Just all of a sudden. And then, that's what the whole thing of being like, I'm telling you, but this is the thing, though. The best teams will still win out the year, But there's definitely where like, yo, you could play a SWAC team and be like again, like, bro, we were. I think we finished like. At one point, we were like 3-2 in the SEC.
Yeah.
Like we won some game, and we should have been 4-1, but Ole Miss came back and beat us in the 9th inning.
Yeah.
Like we definitely can squeeze one from you. Like we're a pain in the ass.
It goes
and
back
even
to
us.
it goes back to the mid-major mindset where like they used to say that about us at Utah Valley. The scouting report was like, you can't take an inning off with these freaking scrappy fucks.
Yeah.
Because they're playing a midweek, they're rolling out their
Yeah.
fifth, sixth starter.
Yeah.
Kind of like we said at Sterling.
Yeah.
For us, that was our World Series.
For
We're
sure.
already 10 games under 500.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But most of the time, we would steal midweek games. We'd beat Arizona. We'd
Yep.
beat Arizona State.
Yeah.
We'd beat Gonzaga. We'd beat Pepperdine because we're putting the pressure on a Tuesday,
Mm-hmm.
where their Tuesday is like, oh man, I just partied last night. Like they're it's
I got a
it's-
test due
it's
tomorrow.
It's
Yeah.
a different ball game.
Yeah. And like, yeah. And that's the whole other thing is too, is like, I'm telling you, like, that really happened in the SWAC where I was just like, yo, this, I thought they were kind of, overplaying it. But I was like, bro, when I watched the game, I'm like, yo, this is a different baseball game. Like,
Yeah,
I'm just not used to playing like this. Like, it
Yeah.
is a different game where like they're looking, it almost is like going back to Little League, but everybody's fast.
Yeah.
And you're like, they're looking to hit the ball on the ground. I'd imagine it's like playing Brett Gardner, but the whole lineup.
Yep.
And you're just
Yeah.
like, yo, like this is a lefty out the box, slapping a ground ball in the 6 hole. Good luck throwing them out.
Yeah.
For real.
Like you got to play, and then that's the thing. So then you play up. Well, then you cut your angles off.
Yep.
So now they're getting little ground balls that are sneaking through, and you're like, yo, if I play back, well, but then if you play back, they're gonna outrun it.
It really wasn't that fun playing third base at that level. I personally struggled, one, but two, it was just hard. Gave me
He said- he said
it gave
he-
me such a
He
different
said,
appreciation.
he said he struggled, but he's all American. But it's sort of
Well,
Yeah.
I mean earlier in my career,
Yeah, I feel for some of the third basemen that we had.
it's tough.
The last year. I mean, we had the differences of like you'd have different elevations like drastically in my conference and natural to turf. Some of the turf was faster.
Yeah.
It was just so different. And, you get on the western side of the mountains, a little warmer, a little colder. Like everything played so different team to team.
Mm-hmm.
Our third baseman, you'd run into a guy that was 250 pounds and hit the ball 100 and something mile an hour. And then the next dude's a lefty that runs a freaking 6-1 down the line, just back to back. And they're just
Yep.
alternating. It's like, hey, good luck.
Hey, bro, you guys
100%.
remember the anxiety at certain levels when a guy hits a skyscraper,
Bro,
and
Oh,
everybody
I
just
got the
looks
best
up.
stories,
Everybody just looks up, and you're like,
I
God,
got to hear yours
bro.
first, Bo, but
The
I got a
worst-
great one.
Oh,
probably
my
the
God.
worst. I mean, besides the Wayland Baptist, where I dropped 2 balls in the same inning because the wind was blowing 400 miles an hour.
It was.
But
It was like a pop up was a double. Like
Dude,
a pop up was a double that
the
day.
the worst one was we're playing at Arizona, U of A, my freshman year, and we were all freshmen. It's the dollar beer night, so these guys have they wrote
It's already,
signs.
Good story.
it's already started.
These guys
I mean,
wrote signs and were holding them up. Like number 4, it was like I think mine said something like because I was hitting like 200.
Yeah.
I think it was like get your average above the Mendoza line, and then it flipped over, and because I had 3 errors in like 3 games, so they said something about my errors. And so, anyways, it's night, and I can't see. Anyways, if you played in big stadiums with big lights, when it gets above the lights at night,
Yeah, it disappeared.
you just
Oh.
can't see it.
You don't know where it went.
And so I made a play, but I like bobbled it. I'm already like heightened anxiety. These guys are like chanting our names,
Yeah.
like being dickheads.
Yeah.
This
I did
ball,
that though.
This
So
ball goes up in the air, bro. And I swear I didn't see it. I'm yelling to the shortstop, like, please just catch it. And I'm like backpedaling.
that's the worst. The back
And-
pedal's
Yeah,
rough.
yeah.
When you
And
start backpedaling, you're
As
in
I'm
trouble.
backpedaling, the fans are like getting ready to yell because they obviously see I'm going to
I love how you said fans. I thought you were like talking about like a fan.
No,
I was
like the stadium.
Yeah,
It's
they're
probably
like
my-
heightened
it's probably
awareness.
my heightened anxiety.
yeah,
ass.
but
I'm sitting
no,
here
I'm
worried.
sure they're yelling.
I finally dive back, bro, and I missed it. The next inning, they had 7 posters. They all flipped over.
went and made 'em.
It said number 4, learn how to catch a ball. All flipped over, and I'm just like, oh boy, the
That's awesome.
worst,
That's classic.
the worst.
That's
So,
classic.
So U of A, Here's a beer for you.
That's classic.
No, the big fly balls, they were always fun. We had one. I was playing second, and a kid playing shortstop, and it's commonly known none of us liked fly balls. None of us messed with them at all. Our third baseman would literally yell people's names out the second it goes up.
Yep.
Our shortstop and me, I had always practiced it short, and me and him would talk about it when we'd practice him. So you got this one? Like, you know, neither of us wanted it. This ball gets rocketed, and we're in Denver, so the sky's a little high there too, a little tough to see. Gets over the lights, goes up. It's on my side of second, and I'm like, oh, good thing I'm playing second. Shortstop's got me, right? I don't say anything. Trey comes flying over. Hey, Cody, you got it? Huh? You got it? No, it's all you. What?
Geez, how high was the ball, Garth?
No, it was seriously. We had a full conversation, and this dude palms it, and he just looks at me, and goes, "We don't talk about this," and we just run in.
He caught it.
Yeah, he caught it.
Nice.
We just run in, and me and him had like a full conversation of just like trying to pass on responsibility.
Why do you guys think that is, though? Is it the depth?
No,
at
I
third?
think it's,
because I could never see the spin.
yeah,
Where
yeah.
the shortstop was it the
Yeah,
angle?
yeah. I was gonna say that I would say at third base, typically you're playing in a lot of the times, so you're in front of like everybody else, and the ball's hit, and typically it's further back
Yeah, it's
than you. That's the one always gave me. Like if it was on the
Always.
pitcher's mound, okay, we're
I
good.
could handle
Yeah.
that.
All
It's
good.
in front of me.
Right, but when like you're saying, so then you almost got to be like an outfielder, right? You got to do that drop step. You got to sprint backwards and like
Get
open up
behind
and
it.
get behind it and then come
Yeah.
back in on it. So
Bro.
like if you start backpedaling at all, you're in trouble. Like as soon as you
Dude.
start backpedaling, because the ball is usually
Yeah.
going to drift a little bit more.
Yeah.
And I always tell my guys like in the infield, right? Like you always want to be coming through it, but like and then always get like again, you could always come back. You could always come through it like an outfielder.
Yeah.
But you never want to be right underneath it
No.
because then it turns into that 2D image.
Yeah.
And you can't tell
can't see
depth.
it. I
It's like a
couldn't-
ground ball when you're
It's
lined
right
up directly with
at
it.
you.
Yeah, you're in trouble. You got to get to the side so you can get an angle and see how much it's
Literally
moving. You know?
after that moment, I would do that. I would
Yeah, just
sprint back.
Sprint back
They would
and
laugh
come
at me,
back
but I'm
in.
like, I can't see it.
I need perspective.
And context.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Dixon. I played Brandon Dixon.
Oh,
He was there when
yeah,
we played. He
that's
had an
classic.
absolute tank.
Yeah.
So I was already playing deep, and it was like, like the little triangle.
Yeah.
But it was like it was
Yeah. No, that's like,
worst.
dude. I just remember in that like there was times, especially on like really windy days in Kansas, where it's just like, dude, that ball goes up and you're like,
I would just yell Stubbs.
Stubbs.
But it's funny though, because if you listen to A-Rod and Jeter,
Yeah.
A-Rod was the same way.
Yeah.
He would say Derek Jeter knew if it wasn't like at the dugout, you're catching it.
Yeah.
Like I just can't catch it.
Yeah. I know a lot of third basemen too. They try to like loop. Like he would always think, oh, I got to find the fence, even if it's not near the fence, so he can push back
Yeah,
towards
because it
first.
comes
Yeah.
towards
for
the
the
field.
And if you can get it, because I always think about it from the outfield, right? When I see an infield pop up, you have such a good perspective because you can see what the ball's doing in the air, right? Like which way it's spinning or, and again, typically it's backspun, obviously, right? So typically it's backspun, so the ball's going up and then kind of like ballooning and actually starts coming back towards
Yeah.
the field a little bit. But yeah, like that was like more of a,
100%.
it definitely, I just know that the anxiety,
Dude.
like of the whole team, like there were certain times the ball is like bink and you're like, oh no.
Well, Gerald knocked me out that one year too. Same situation. I think it was Sterling though. We both collided because there was a pop up in between. I guess I think what I'm saying is I need to probably stop catching fly balls.
Well, you don't have to catch it anymore.
I mean,
anymore,
when
you're
I
good.
was playing.
You're good.
I'm just yelling at everybody else to catch the ball.
Yeah, and I get the point where like there's some coaches out there that are just like, like that's a mindset. You need to change your mindset. But no, but like you also got to recognize that thing. Like it's hard,
It's tough, especially
when you're underneath it.
when you're playing. I mean, if it might not have been Dixon, but like those guys are hitting big league pops up. It's not like we're
No.
catching a pop up in a little league game.
And that's why those guys that put it like you had the day where you had the machine and you set it straight up and you shoot the balls 200 feet in the air.
Yeah.
Like, but that's the other thing is being like, yo, it definitely there's a technique to it where again you definitely can't be underneath it. If you backpedal at all, you already lost, and like you definitely need to get some type of angle, just like you do on a ground ball, where you can kind of see where it's moving in the air and like how much and how drastically it's going one way or another, especially when it's windy, obviously.
100%.
Because even if you have the spin of the ball, but then you also got the wind, so you got all those things going together, and then also obviously we know that that's a big effect in pitching now. But again, if like the balls, which typically are at that level, especially later in the game where they're scuffed or anything like that, they interact again, just like in pitching, they're going to move drastically. Imagine when it's dropping 200 feet instead of 60 feet and also traveling at twice the speed.
Yeah.
Like, or what, not twice the speed. That's a little much, but
100%.
yeah, the speed is up there. You know what I'm saying? Like, because the only way for it to get that high, it was hit pretty hard.
Yeah, and it's coming down quicker too.
Yeah.
What I'm saying with all this, tying it in, is I have so much respect for those guys now. Out of all the plays we've talked about, just the way they make it look so easy. And normal people, they just don't appreciate that. Those pop-ups on the infield that those big leaguers just catch like a can of corn, I'm like, oh, boy.
Oh, when Beltre and who was it, Elvis Andrus,
Mm-hmm.
they'd play games while doing it. It's like,
Yeah,
y'all are messing around.
it's not fair.
Yeah.
It's a different level.
No, it is different. And also, too, it's a different level because in college, you're playing with pros that have a aluminum bat.
Yeah.
So, like, some of these dudes, I can't even imagine back in the day when they had Bessers. Oh, my God. Those pop-ups probably were insane.
Playing third base against Dixon, Conforto was left-handed, but Dylan Davis was at Oregon State. I'm like, dude, I just want to go play, like, on the grass. I hated playing deep, but I'm like, I have to play deep.
Yeah.
Yeah.
These guys are big leaguers.
You got to
Swinging a metal bat.
Yeah, they're hitting the ball hard.
Yeah. It's not fun. Really wasn't.
Yeah.
I mean, it was, but it was in a different level of anxiety.
There definitely was some anxiety in there.
You're on the edge of your seat.
Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. And the worst is, like, when you lose the ball and then you're trying to find it again. Ooh.
The worst is when you lose it when it's on the ground. Have you ever had that?
Yeah, I've had that happen before.
It kind of like glitches on you.
No.
Glitches on you.
That's when
No.
you know.
No,
That's when you know you're in a bad spot mentally.
No, I've had it. I've had it. I've had it.
Yeah.
I've had it on the ground. I've had it on the ground when, like, my head bounces or something.
Yeah.
Like I take a hard step
yeah.
or something like that, and they're
kinda
like,
lose
and you got to pick it back up again.
So who you got? Let's tie it back in. Who's the MVP? We drifted, but who's the
This
MVP?
year?
I want to give
I would
it.
say Ohtani.
Yeah, I want to give it to. I think it's a weird thing because you obviously to this point you want to go, well, like anyone that wins the Triple Crown is going to be MVP, but you don't have Shohei Ohtani's, and really since like Babe Ruth.
Yeah, I think if he wins the
So-
Triple Crown, they'll give him the MVP.
You think?
I do.
Yeah.
I don't know though. I think the writers are really in love with Shohei.
Yeah. I think
That's
the
true.
thing that I think of is, so if Vladdy with the stats he has now, would he play first and bat 3-hole for every team? Do you think?
No, I mean not every team.
But then
But-
Ohtani would still be a top 2-3 guy in the rotation and still be top of the lineup for every team.
But I still think he
I
would.
think.
I think he'd play first and bat.
Top
four.
3-4.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
It makes it tough.
Oh, but how about though? Yeah, I mean he's good. Sorry, I was thinking. Did you ask Vladdy or Ohtani?
I mean, both.
I think Shohei won't bat 3 or 4 for every team, but Vladdy would.
Well, Otani's leading off, anyways.
That's what I'm
But
saying,
he's
though,
going to
but-
bat in the top of the lineup, and he's going to be a
Yeah.
main pitcher
But I
for
think it
every
depends,
team.
though. I don't think the Yankees would put him in that spot. The Yankees would put him like 6, 7, 8 probably.
You think?
Yeah, I was gonna say the Yankees would probably put him 6th. The Yankees are stacked though. We got a lot of dudes now.
But like
to hit.
Vladdy's the guy. He's where the game of baseball's at right now.
Yeah.
You're gonna hit home runs. You're gonna hit the 3, 4, 5. You're also gonna sell seats. Shohei will too. He'll be in the lineup.
Yeah.
But I just don't.
Also, too, with the writers doing
He,
the voting.
he goes. He'll be in the lineup. He's an MVP candidate. You freaking goof. Yeah, man, he'll be in the lineup. I would hope so. He's an MVP in the league.
Possibly.
No, yeah. I
Comparing Ohtani to Babe Ruth, like, not that, I never saw Babe Ruth play, but,
Yeah.
That's just like that's a historical name. You're throwing him in that, like, that's a story. That's
Well,
writers
yeah,
making
but
that story, and they do the voting.
You
Well,
go ahead first, Joe.
But yeah, I'm just saying as a guy that's a top pitcher in the league and also a top hitter, like you'd have to go back to Babe Ruth.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Well,
Well,
and-
age is just so rare, which means
Yeah.
it's such
And
a great story.
Yeah.
People, once again, we talk about innovating and times are changing, not taking anything away. Baseball's just harder.
Yeah.
In my opinion, it's
Yeah.
people
it's
are better.
it's way harder to do
difficult.
that now
Yeah.
now
Way
today
harder.
than
So
it is
like
back
people
then.
also, Babe Ruth. It's like you can't compare it. It's like, why not?
Yeah.
He's doing it, putting up those numbers in today's game. Never happens.
Yeah, that's wild.
Yeah, or even the rarity. Who was the last to win the Triple Crown? Miggy?
Miggy.
Yeah.
I remember when he
Who's-
did.
I
who's
think
the
he
last
got-
guy
it
he
was
that-
got-
like
he got on-
40 years
he got-
before that or something
He
like
got
that.
Yeah, he got on MLB The Show. I remember. That's back when he was the truth.
I think it was like 30 or 40 years before that.
Yeah,
anybody.
I was just. I
Ted
mean, I don't
Williams,
even
maybe.
know. I was just curious. And then like the last time someone was that good offensively and on the mound at the same time, same player.
For sure.
The rarity of it.
Babe Ruth.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And even then, you'd have to go look at his numbers.
All right, wrap it up. Here we go. Who do you got?
Ooh.
MVP. What's your bet?
I'll probably take Vladdy.
What do you
Taking
got?
Ohtani.
I'm gonna go with my heart. My pick will be Vladdy, but I think Shohei's actually gonna win it though.
Mhm.
That's what I think is gonna happen.
Yeah.
That's fair.
Yeah.
I probably agree with you.
I think they're gonna pick, especially too with all the political climate and all that stuff. You throw all that stuff in there. I think that
Yeah.
they're definitely gonna
Mhm.
pick him. But I think that's who they're gonna pick. And again, he's great either way. I'm
Yeah,
not
either
upset
way.
about either one of them.
Yeah.
But I think that a triple crown is my heart's
he
kinda,
wins the triple crown,
I'm a little
that'd be-
biased though because I understand hitting. It's
I think
just
the
really hard
writers
to
will
do.
be like, if you win the triple crown, it'll be hard for me not to vote for you. That's
Yeah.
historic. That's happens, once every.
Yeah, but
I
at
just don't think
Shohei
it will.
Ohtani happens like never.
That's true.
So
That is true.
So
It's true.
We've
It's
seen
true.
a triple crown in our lifetime, but we haven't seen
yeah,
Babe Ruth in our lifetime. So
yeah,
It's just true.
it's big.
We'll see.
All right, guys. Well, from us and our partners, until next time, Farm System out.